This week on the Dissect That Film podcast, we're venturing both to Elm Street and to Camp Crystal Lake, because it's a battle of the roots, the battle of the horror legends, as we are talking about Freddy versus Jason. Now you better watch or listen, or I'm coming after you in your dreams. See you there.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dissect That Film podcast, where we dissect the good, the bad, and the ugly of your favorite films and film franchises. Happy Friday the 13th. We're back. And of course, since it is Friday the 13th, we have to talk about a film that has the big guy who runs this day, Jason Voorhees. But today we're talking about a movie where it's not all about him. He brought a friend or an enemy, Freddy Krueger. As today we are talking about 2003's Freddy versus Jason. I am your host, Brett Parker. Joining me as always, my wonderful co-host Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming.
Hello.
Hello. How are you guys?
Great. Good.
It feels like it's been forever. Like, if we don't record exactly a week from the last time we recorded, it feels like it's been a month. Like, it's been like 2 extra days, and I'm like, do I remember how to do this show? Do I remember, like, if it feels like years that I've talked to you guys? It's wild stuff.
It's like when you go on vacation from work. Other than the fact that you have to go back to work, like, do I remember how to do my job? I don't know.
When you tear up while you're like, you put your head down on the pillow and your tears just form in your eyes because you know that you have to wake up early and go to that place. I feel like I don't have to do that. I don't do that as much anymore because my job isn't as shitty as the last one I had. Where I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
Gotta make sure to clean your makeup and stuff before you go in. I do.
Yeah.
Fix my mascara. It's running.
Yeah. All the crying.
I feel
Bleeding Mascara, which is a great song by Atreyu. I just want to throw that out there.
Yes, it is. Early stuff too. That's like one of their first albums.
What is it? Suicide Notes and Butterfly Kisses?
Yeah, I think so. I got into them a little later. I actually saw them with Avenged Sevenfold in like 2007.
Nice.
When they released their Lead Sails and Paper Acres album, which is my favorite album from them. That's when I got into them, because I actually heard one of their songs in a Madden game, because I was huge into playing Madden back in the day.
That was Avenged Sevenfold for me.
No, Avenged Sevenfold was the same way, because I think Backcountry was in a Madden game.
I heard them a couple years prior to that. It would have been
Unholy Confessions 4. Or something, or Chapter 4.
Yeah, which was from Unholy Confessions.
Yeah. And
then Atreyu was the first stuff I listened to was Suicide Note and Butterfly Kisses, but then right after that they released The Curse and then Let's Sail on Paper Anchors.
Backcountry was the first CD you bought me.
I did. It was for her first birthday. We were together.
I bought that album twice because I bought it and then lost it, so I had to buy it again. I have it somewhere around here. I have all the Avenged Sevenfold albums up until I think it was Hail to the King, because then I just lost interest in them because their music kind of lyrically went downhill, especially when the Rev died. He was the glue behind that band.
So it's kind of like when Panic at the Disco got popular and all their music kind of
and Panic at the Disco just turned into the singer. That was it. He was the only one left. And now he's even done. They quit.
Yeah.
Or I think he quit Panic at the Disco.
Oh, his wife had a baby, not him.
All of this is relevant, everybody, because this fucking soundtrack for Freddy vs. Jason has bangers.
I don't know. I just heard the music. I was like, oh, yeah.
It's one of the high points of this movie. I mean, there are a bunch of high points of this movie, but the soundtrack is just fucking, it's a banger. It's early 2000s metal, alternative rock, just, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's what you expect.
Yeah. So, yeah, Freddy vs. Jason came out August 15th, 2003. So it just passed its 20th anniversary. This was directed by Ronnie Yu, who 5 years...
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Who 5 years before would direct another movie with another horror legend, my boy Chucky, because he also directed Bride of Chucky, which is one of my favorite films from that franchise. So Ronnie Yu did not know much about these characters, wasn't very familiar with the characters. He just wanted to make an all-out bloody brawl, and that's about it. There wasn't anything special about it. He just saw I think he was familiar with who these characters were and just was like, well, yeah, we're just going to make it like a wrestling match. That was literally his view on what he wanted Freddy versus Jason to be. He just wanted it to be a wrestling match. And there are shots in this movie that look like I'm watching a WWE wrestling match where you're like, holy shit, is he just dropping the knees? Like, what's Freddy doing? This movie is batshit crazy. Yes. This movie was written by Damian Shannon and Mark Swift. They would go on to write the 2009 Friday the 13th remake. So,
which we liked.
Which we covered on our last Friday the 13th episode earlier this year. So, hey, cool. We got him again.
Oh, yeah, we did. I keep forgetting about that one because I always remember the big one we did. I forgot we covered this 2000.
We did. We have covered the entire franchise, not as in depth as we do with these episodes, but we're going to be doing it again when we cover the entire Halloween franchise. So very, very excited. But yeah, we said in that episode that we were going to go through and talk about certain ones in the franchise as singular episodes. And, there's many Friday the 13th that'll come up, come up in the future, and we're going to have to cover another Friday the 13th film. We got a lot left, even the bad ones, the really bad ones.
Yeah. If we're here long enough, we'll just do them all.
Yeah. So there were 17 scripts for this movie dating back all the way to 1993, back when Jason Goes to Hell came out, because that was kind of the whole basis behind why Freddy vs. Jason was supposed to happen. The whole end of that movie is literally a shot of Freddy's glove coming out of the ground and grabbing Jason's mask and bringing it to hell, which, fun fact, the hand that comes out of the ground is Kane Hodder's hand wearing the Freddy glove.
Irony.
Yeah, right? Irony.
Yeah, I know, right?
But yeah, 17 versions of this film. There were all crazy versions. There were some ones that were, I read them and went, I'm glad they didn't go with that. There was one where there was a subplot where Freddy sexually assaulted Jason's mom and potentially could have been Jason's dad. Ooh, yeah, that's
weird.
There were some weird ones.
That's weird.
And this is what we got. And I think the biggest problem with this movie is the fact that the dialogue is atrocious. Some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard in a movie. And it could be the factor of, yes, the script could have been just odd. And also the fact that they actually brought in David S. Goyer to do a rewrite of the film, because I guess the final cut was like over almost 2.5 hours long. And they're like, nah, we got to shorten this up, because this movie's only an hour and 33 minutes long.
Yeah.
So they brought David S. Goyer in, who we've talked about many, many, many times on this show, to come in and shorten the movie. He added a couple characters. I think Gibb was one of the characters he added. And also one of the probably the worst decisions of this movie, which we'll talk about when we get to that part of the movie.
Yes.
But we'll blame David S. Goyer for that.
I want to blame somebody for it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just a mess. Then let's get to the conversation of Jason himself. So everybody advocate. Look at that beautiful. Was that signed by? Is that Kane Hodder?
Yes.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Birthday.
For everybody watching,
It's
a signed picture from Kane Hodder to Angela.
And it was, in my opinion,
because he was at a con in Pigeon Forge, and a friend of mine went. We didn't get to go. She got it for me.
I think one of the best Jason suits with the chain around his neck when his mask comes off and you can actually see his face. It looks fucking great. And of course, Kane Hodder's first movie, and that's when he's chasing after the guidance counselor and the final girl's mom.
Yep.
Like that.
Yeah.
That like cut that saw for cutting off branch.
Yeah.
Fuck it is.
My birthday is the day before Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Well, your day it'll be the day before this video comes out, or the day before this video comes out. Your birthday.
So as I stated, Kane Hodder was everybody's choice. Everybody wanted Kane Hodder to be Jason because he had been Jason since part 7. But Ronnie Yu wasn't about it. He didn't like the way that Kane moved as Jason. He wanted a more slow. He wanted what you see on screen in this movie. Jason is very slow. He doesn't ever run. He doesn't ever move fast. He's just a slow lumbering man. And so they brought in Ken Kirsinger, who was Kane Hodder's stunt double in part 8. He actually shows up in that movie twice. So he is actually a diner. He works at a diner, and Jason actually throws him into a mirror, which I thought is hilarious. And then he is Jason when he gets hit by a police car. And so he actually wanted to be the stunt coordinator for this movie, but Ronnie Yu liked him so much he decided to give him the job. And also Kane Hodder has nothing against the guy who replaced him. It was more of the Ronnie. A lot of people had issues with Ronnie Yu.
Yep,
he was a big problem for a lot of the actors on this movie. One of them being Katharine Isabelle, who played Gib, because she signed on to the movie with a clause in her contract that stated no nudity. And Ronnie Yu tried to pressure her into doing a nude scene, but she was not about it. So they actually brought in a stunt double just to do that nude scene. And it's like, why?
That's what I said about this one. I said this is the AKA the booby movie, because that's...
Well, I even said that to Angela at the beginning. I was like, I don't remember her being naked in this movie. Like, I don't remember that shot at the beginning at all.
Well, no. Well, that's not the same. Are you talking about the dream?
No, the shower scene.
Okay. Yeah. I understand to a degree. I mean, who doesn't love to see boobies? But
I have them. I don't care.
Yep. Other people care though.
He said, "Who doesn't?"
I'm just saying.
I know there are people who don't.
I'm outnumbered.
I know there are people who don't.
I'm outnumbered.
I don't like when I read stuff like this where it's like, I don't want to be nude. And then it's like, and it's like, no, it's not necessary. Like there has been so many movies I've seen where it's like a shower scene and it just shows like a silhouette behind like a shower curtain. It's like, that's all we need. We don't need the above the curtain shot down to
I felt like
so
I was
unnecessary.
at my own,
right.
Especially when she specifically stated that it was.
Yeah.
She didn't want to.
That's bullshit, dude. That's not fair.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess they had a huge riff throughout the entire filming. This took almost 3 months to film, or almost 2 months to film. So yeah, it was a weird production, but it seemed like everybody was having a good time except for maybe a certain few people. This would be Robert Englund's final appearance as Freddy in a film. He would come back in an episode of The Goldbergs like 5 years ago during a Halloween episode. It was the last time he actually wore the makeup, which the appliance, they actually used a different appliance to do his makeup. So like in the original, I mean, this was his, I think, 8th Friday film. So it was, or not Friday film, Nightmare film.
Yeah, I get you.
It was all different pieces, and it was like very, very hot. It took forever to put on, but this one was a more of a kind of like a mask, but it still was like put on in pieces, but it was more breathable for him, except when he had to do scenes where there was fire involved, because I guess there was a story that the actual mask got like it heaved to his face. Like he didn't realize how hot like it was during a shot, and then when he went back to his trailer to get it taken off, I guess it like was was stuck to his face.
Oof.
Yeah. A lot of fire in this movie.
Yeah, a little bit.
A weird plot point too, which
very weird.
Another questionable plot point. So yeah, we have Ken Kirsinger as Jason Voorhees. We have Monica Keena as Laurie Campbell. She would, I guess, come out later on after this movie came out and just pretty much bash the movie, saying like the script was trash, and she pretty much took the movie to kind of get herself a bigger star in Hollywood, to become something more. We have Kelly Rowland. To be honest, I don't know. I don't know. I to be honest, I looked through the movies that she's been in since then, and she was in a 2009. It looks like a 2009 remake of Night of the Demons. Yeah, it was a 2009 remake from the 1988 Night of the Demons. So
interesting.
40. She was in the Never Sleep Again documentary, which it's literally a documentary going through the history of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. She was also in the Crystal Lake Memory. So she just coming in as herself, talking about her experience on this movie. She's done some voice acting. She's done a lot of TV work. But to be honest, this is the only thing I know her from. And I remember watching the clip from the Never Sleeps Again documentary, and I didn't even know it was her. It just showed her name, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's Lori." Yeah, she looks different.
Okay.
We got Kelly Rowland, who plays Kia. Of course, Kelly Rowland, most known for Destiny's Child with Beyonce. I guess this was filmed during a hiatus with Destiny's Child. They were taking a break, so she did some acting roles, and yeah, we'll talk more about her.
There's a line, and I cannot remember it, and it's gonna bother me. She says something, and here I am. I start singing one of their songs, and I'm like, I forget what she says though. Go look it up.
We have Jason Ritter as Will Rollins. His dad would be directed by Ronnie Ewan, Bride of Chucky. He actually his dad actually died the year this movie came out.
Oof.
So his dad's been gone for 20 years. I remember seeing that on TV. It's crazy. We have Chris Marquette as Charlie Linderman, who is probably one of my favorite characters.
Familiar.
Who?
Jason Ritter.
Yeah, he's married to
John Ritter's son.
Yeah, he's John Ritter's son, but he's also he's married to Melanie. He's married to Melanie Linsky. You know who that is?
No idea.
She have you seen Yellow Jackets?
Okay, I have not.
She's been in a fuck ton of stuff. She was in The Last of Us recently. She was in 2.5 Men for a long time.
Yeah.
We have Lachlan Monroe as
that's what I know.
deputy. Yeah, she was in the first season of that. Yeah. But yeah, we have Lachlan Monroe as Deputy Scott Stubbs.
Sorry.
Who he was in Scary. I think he was in Scary Movie.
I think so. I feel like he looks like he's. Yeah, he was. He was Greg in the original
Dracula 2000.
Night of the Roxbury.
Oh.
He's that.
No, I just know him from Riverdale.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that's like what most people know him from now is Riverdale. I have Catherine Isabel as Gib. She was in the Ginger Snap movies, which is like a werewolf movies from the early 2000s. She was in. I know her from Hannibal, the TV show Hannibal. We have Brendan Fletcher as Mark Davis, who we've actually talked about because he was in Violent Night. He played one of the elves.
Angel reminded me.
Yes. Because I'm like, damn, he sounds familiar. But here I am. I'm looking at his face. I'm like, the face and the voice don't match up. I thought he sounded like Skeet Ulrich. But I'm like, that's not him. For a fact.
And a very underused actor in this movie is Zach Ward, who played the brother, who you only see in flashbacks or in dream sequences. He's would have played Nikolai in Resident Evil Apocalypse.
That's why he looked familiar.
But I think when you see him, if you've seen A Christmas Story, he is Scut Farkas. It was his first role back in 1983, which is crazy. And he came back in A Christmas Story Christmas, playing the same character.
Nice. No, he was in Transformers as well.
Yeah. We have Kyle Labine as Bill Freeberg, who is just the Jay from Jay and Silent Bob knockoff character.
Yes.
Oh, we don't need to talk about two just useless garbage characters, Blake and Trey. We'll talk about them more. They're played by David Kopp and Jesse Hutch. And Pamela Voorhees is played by Paula Shaw in this movie because Betsy Palmer was like, fuck this. This looks like trash. Which is almost exactly what she said. Not, word for word, but it's pretty close. She's like, I'm an actor. This is not acting.
This is a bit hard. Get the fuck out of here.
But yeah, this is, of course, the idea for this movie has been, I think it was since 1987 that they had come up with the idea of wanting to pit these two characters together. But there was the big issue of the fact that they were between two studios. So New Line Cinema has owned the Nightmare series since its inception. And then Jason was owned by Paramount. But then Paramount sold the rights to just Jason, not the Friday the 13th name, to New Line. So they then made Jason Goes to Hell. That's why it wasn't called Friday the 13th. It was just called Jason Goes to Hell. And then we got Jason X 2 years before this. And so that's where they set up the fact is like, we finally got these two horror icons in the same house now. Now we can pit them against each other. And that's why you get that stinger at the end of Jason Goes to Hell. But it was the fact that they could not get a script. They could not get a script that everybody could agree on until Damian Shannon and Mark Swift came in, and they ended up taking their script and running with it. So this movie has just it was just a shit show trying to get this thing off the ground. And when it finally did, it made money because it had a $30 million budget and made $116.6 million at the box office. For a horror movie, that's some good money on that type of budget. And I remember I didn't see this movie in theaters because I was like, when this movie came out, I was just about to hit 12. So yeah, my mom wasn't gonna let me go see this in the theaters, but she did let me buy the DVD, which I don't understand why. But I remember going. I know, but I remember going. I remember going to the FYE in my local mall. And I just remember knowing exactly where I was going. And of course, they had their new release section, which was like right there. And I was like, sold. And that's the DVD. I actually had to watch this because it's not on any streaming services. And I didn't feel like buying it again. So I said, fuck it. I'm going to watch it on DVD.
We watched it on our...
Plex.
Oh, you watched it on Plex? That's fine.
Well, it was on a friend's server. Oh. We were like last minute. We're like, let's watch fucking this.
That's all right. I have this DVD. I mean, it still worked. It still looked good. I mean, it's DVD absolutely. Quality. DVD on a PS5,
I don't remember why I didn't see this in theaters because me and both my cousins went and seen Jason X in theaters. Mm-hmm. I don't remember why I didn't watch this.
I mean, I was all caught up on both franchises up until this point because this was, like I've said it many times, like my parents got divorced when I was very young. So my dad let us watch horror movies. He didn't care what we watched, It was one of those things where it's just a movie. Don't repeat what's said in the movie. It's all a movie. And that's kind of, there was a little rule book that went along with being able to see these things. But the Nightmare on Elm Street movies were like one of the first, that was like the first horror series that I ever watched as a kid. I remember renting, I think like 2 at a time. I'd rent, I remember watching A Nightmare on Elm Street for the first time when I was way too young. And just falling in love with just the atmosphere of it all. And so by the time this came, that's why I was so excited for this movie, but I knew that my mom was not going to take me to go see it in the theater. So I was like, maybe I can convince her to let me buy the DVD at least.
That's what was great about having friends whose parents were far less lenient than mine.
Or more lenient.
Far more lenient. Bonnie.
Yeah, no, I knew who you were talking about.
She let us watch Exorcist several times before.
Like, for me growing up, I talked about before, I didn't watch movies like this. Like, I just wouldn't. And I blame my mother again for terrifying me as a child. But, as I've said multiple times on this show, the little bit of the story behind this is, this will be funny for people, those of you that can remember that far back, is I knew Jason X was coming out. And my cousin's like, hey, we should watch these in lieu of Jason X, which was Jason X 2001. So I would.
It was 2002. It came out a year before this.
So 2002. So I would have been 17-ish when this came out.
I'd have been a sophomore.
So I wasn't like, I just didn't watch these movies. My cousin's like, dude, let's just watch some of them. And on Halloween, they would always, around Halloween, they'd have the Friday the 13th marathon, like USA. And I always remember the stingers because it was a guy just dressed up as Jason Voorhees. It was like he was running a marathon. And then somebody would hand him a glass of water and he would cut the dude's arm off. And it's like, back to the, whatever marathon. Yeah. It's just stuff shit like that, I remember. But I bombed through all of them. But I remember the first one we watched, he's like, dude, if you're going to watch any of them, because I never group watched them, he's like, we got to watch part 6. That's why I love part 6. Mm-hmm. And we just went through all of them, except part 9, leading up to 10, and then this one. Still don't know why I didn't see it in theaters.
So there was supposed to be a sequel to this. It was going to be a Freddy versus Jason versus Ash from Evil Dead. Mm-hmm. It didn't come to fruition, of course, but we did get a comic series out of it. Mm-hmm. So if you want to know those stories, they're in comic form somewhere.
Well, it would have made sense with all the dumb bullshit they introduced in part 9 for Ash to be there.
Mm.
But whatever.
Ken Kirsinger is the tallest, or at the time, I think was the tallest Jason ever on film. He was 6'5". I don't remember how tall the Jason was in the remake. He might have been shorter, but Kane Hodder was 6'2". But I think that was there was like a rumor about maybe this is another reason why they picked Ken over Kane, because he's taller and they wanted to make him seem more menacing in size compared to Freddy.
Sure.
How tall is Robert Englund?
5'10".
It would have been fine. I would have rather seen Kane do it. No, I think Kane does a fine job.
Do is put him in boots or whatever with the thicker sole.
The thing with Ken, nothing against him, and it's his direction for this movie or whatever. The thing I have an issue with him in this movie, like you talked about, is he's, no offense, he's kind of sleepy Jason.
Oh no, this is my least favorite Jason. I think of all of the Jasons.
I can't say that, but I don't
know if I can say it. He's definitely not. He's definitely lower tier for me.
Okay, in certain scenes. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The thing that I love about Kane Hodder's Jason is the intent with every move that he makes.
Yes. Yep. I think that's why they didn't like him as Jason.
And I love that
this doesn't make any sense to me.
He doesn't even have to move. It's his head turn. And he always turns his head first before he...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he just looks so determinative. And I wonder if that's why they wanted where Freddy's the more frantic, kind of over-the-top character, and they wanted a more muted character for Jason to have, like, that counterpoint.
Yeah. I think it could have... I think it might have been the fact that, the plot of this movie is... Spoiler. Is the fact that Freddy uses Jason to kill. Like, he uses him as kind of like a puppet to kill so that he can get his power back. And I feel that the Kane Hodder Jason, like, I feel like it just wouldn't make sense because he's so brooding and he's so fast and he controls what he does. Where this Jason, Freddy is able to control him, but only to an extent because he is Jason Voorhees. He's going to kill when he wants to kill. Freddy only has so much power, where I don't feel Freddy could have had that power over. Listen, I would have killed to see Kane Hodder as Jason in this movie. I think it would have been awesome, and I would love to see Kane Hodder come back and play Jason again in a Friday the 13th.
I want to meet him.
It would be great, and I think we talked about it in our episode, forever ago when we talked about the entire franchise. The fact that like Kane Hodder is probably the best Jason in the worst movies. And I think that could have been another factor in the fact that they didn't want to bring Kane Hodder back, because all of his Friday the 13th movies weren't regarded as being good Friday the 13th movies. So I don't know. It's all hearsay. It's all what you read on the internet. You take it with a grain of salt. You can't, you really got to sit down and, I'd love to just sit down and talk to Kane himself and ask these questions and get the answers from him. Yeah. I mean, there are interviews with him where he has talked about this franchise and the reasons why things happen. So if you want to, there's the Crystal Lake Memories documentary, which he talked about a lot of that. And then you could probably just look it up on YouTube and find something with him talking about the whole, why everything went down for this movie. I don't want to get too much into it because a lot of podcasts and a lot of channels have already covered this movie, and I can guarantee a lot of channels are going to be covering this movie on this day today as we're talking about it. I know a couple channels that I think are covering this movie as well, so we'll shout you out at the end. So it's let's talk about. I mean, I guess we talked about our experience with this movie. I mean, I talked about buying my DVD. You talked about your experience, Angela. What is your experience with this movie? Like, when did you first see it? Like, when
did we watch this?
Yesterday.
Really? This your first time? Wow, that's crazy.
I know I've said this before. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of this. I did sneak and watch stuff that I wasn't supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Got caught a couple times, but I'm the baby of the family, so I think that's an unwritten rule that you're supposed to do stuff you're not supposed to and get caught.
Maybe that's kind of how I am. I was the baby,
but I never got in trouble for it because I was the baby of the family. So
not how it worked in our family. Not a one.
Hey, I did get my TV privileges taken away.
Stop watching porn.
It wasn't. I figured out. So we had satellite as probably high school, like when I first started high school. And we had to watch all the Christian channels. Like that was it. My mom set a password. That was the only thing we could watch. I figured out the password and I fell asleep watching MTV. And she woke up and I was watching MTV.
That'll do it. But she changed that password.
Changed the password. But when you have a password that's not hard to figure out,
Got limited options. That's fair.
I mean, it was 4 numbers. I figured it out very fast. I mean, my mom only wanted the best for us, so.
Yeah. I think that's what all parents should be like,
I don't hold anything against her. Like I've made more memories watching movies as I've gotten older. I feel like I enjoy experiencing that.
Right.
I hold it against her.
Huh?
I wasn't even there.
You weren't there. I didn't even know you at this time. But I feel like the experience as an adult is different and more, I don't know.
You'll probably like less shitty movies.
Like watching them though, like I still want that experience. But I feel like that's more of but yeah, I mean, watching this, I made him laugh with some of my comments, so I forget what I had said.
We'll remember.
I was very sassy during watching this. Just saying. There was a lot of things said. I sang a lot of songs because Kelly Rowland's in this, so yeah. I was singing songs. But yeah, I quite enjoyed the whole watch of it.
Experience the first time.
Just the whole first time experience. I quite enjoyed it. I'm watching.
What's happening?
This is why
IMDb is up over here. Every time she has it up, there's like trailers that play, right?
Yeah.
It's super distracting. And there's a fucking Dobby, a talking Dobby, and I can't think of anything but what's on your fucking shirt, movie dumpster. Dobby. I'm an elf now, Mr. I'm a free elf now, Mr. Potter.
I'm a free elf, Mr. Potter.
If we ever get
yes, my cum sock. Sorry, that's Sean's
if we
thing. That's
ever
no,
if anytime we get let go at work early, like we're over hours, you can go home early. It's always just giving Dobby a sock. always somebody brings it up. It's great.
I was just curious where like getting to leave work early had something to do with my semen comment. I was like, where's the connection here? But it's just the sock, so that's fair.
Before we talk about the plot, there were 2 people who were up for director before Ronnie was brought in. Rob Zombie was offered to direct, but he wanted to direct House of a Thousand Corpses because that was his technically his first film, and that was his baby. So he wanted to do that, which came out a few months after this. And then James Wan was offered to direct, but he was working on Saw, so that didn't happen. So we got Ronnie Yu.
Well, you see where that went with him.
No offense, I'm kind of glad it wasn't Rob Zombie, but that's just me.
No, he would just mess with another horror legend later on.
You'd find out that
4 years from now,
everybody's got a bad childhood, and everybody was abused, and they all live in trailer parks, and they were all just white trash Americans, and that's why they're bad people now.
He's from the South, right?
Man, you literally just described every Rob Zombie plot. No, just kidding. No, I mean, yes, that's pretty much the plot of Halloween. All right, well, let's talk about a plot. The plot of Freddy versus Jason. So, if you didn't know, Freddy is not a good guy. He died because the town of Springwood turned against him because he was found innocent of being a child murderer. And we get the really creepy... It's probably the creepiest version of Freddy that we've seen ever. Like, the way that they open this movie with him, you know, having that one girl in the boiler room or the shed or whatever, wherever he's at. And, you know, he's sharpening his claw. And he's licking the picture of the kid. He's got the book of all the kids that he's kid. Yeah, that was like. Can we wait until the remake before we fully throw the fact that he was a child diddler?
Well, see, that's what they must have. Somebody's like, hey, remember that kid thing they did when all? I mean, like obviously was the basis of his backstory, but like they really kind of touched on in Freddy vs. Jason. Let's just make that super fucking weird for this 2009 version or 10 or whatever. 8.
They do show something similar in one of the Freddy's Nightmare episodes, which was the Nightmare on Elm Street series they did in like the early 90s.
Okay.
There was an episode where it was Freddy gets caught, he goes to court, and he gets found innocent. And then that's when it turns that like all the parents of the kids, you know, find where he's at and set him on fire. But yeah, this was creepy. And then of course he's doing the creepy narration over it. And pretty much describing the fact that all of Springwood has forgotten about him, and so he has no power anymore because that was how he was able to do all of what he did for 7 or 8 or I can't remember how many freaking Nightmare movies there are, but because it shows all the montages of like all the different Nightmare movies as they go through and show him dying all the time.
Yeah, I'm curious why they thought to make his photographs lick and stick. I thought that was really weird. Like, are they flavored? What is? I know I get what they're going for, but he's just and then in the book,
he just doesn't have glue. Like, what's happening here? I'm very confused.
I don't think that's
tape like normal fucking people.
No,
unless he like gets off on the chemicals,
it's like a natural glue. Yeah, I just licked my fucking pop filter.
Yes, lick it some more.
I didn't mean to. This is gross.
Yeah.
So he says, I need Jason to kill them and make them remember. And he's got the pointy teeth. And I was like, I wonder if we'll see these again. Yes, you do, but but it's like one other shot. Mm-hmm. I do like the makeup,
really interesting shot later.
I do like his contacts. I do like the look. Yeah. I like the teeth. I wish they kind of kept the teeth throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
He goes through like several different
teeth, doesn't he? He goes through a couple different looks in this movie.
Yes.
So you have like a normal looking Freddy, and then you get a demon Freddy later in the movie.
Then you get one that's like halfway between where his teeth are kind of fucked up. Not the pointy ones, but they're kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Because it makes him look more scary.
Yeah. Well, he's a demon. He's a dream demon, so you want him to make him look more demonic. Yeah. So now we're at Crystal Lake, and it wouldn't be Crystal Lake without some boobies.
But Friday the 13th Part 2, that lady's just out here like, hey, just looks around, nobody's around. Dead of night, just gets fucking naked. At least this chick was waiting on somebody.
She's like, Mike.
This is where I said, Billy, I get naked and take a shower. Yep.
So what I always like to do when we cover movies that are covered by Dead Meat, I always like to watch their episode covering the movie we're about to talk about, because I always find out some things I've never heard or remember from other things. I guess she was in Final Destination 2, and she literally is in a scene where she just flashes her boobies.
Okay.
She's on the back of a motorcycle and she flashes the kids in the car.
Why not?
Is she like what's that? The Quigley lady?
Oh, Linnea Quigley.
Not quite that's prominent, but she's just in a movie to get naked.
Listen, Return of the Living Dead.
Yes. I'm not shitting on the lady if like that's what you want to do, and that that's
I never shit on Linnea Quigley. I applaud her.
I'm just curious as to why she put her shirt back on to run.
Because she was scared. I know, right?
But she ran and her boobs are like, woo.
And it pops out. And you're just like, what was the point?
You can't contain those beasts.
So yes, Jason chases her through. Well, actually, you get to see it, the whole thing. Because she's skinny dips. She swims and then she's like yelling for her boyfriend. But then she gets out. She sees. You don't see what she sees, but you know who it is. And she's running through the woods, and you can never escape Jason, to the point where he stabs her and sticks her to a tree, kind of like Michael does to Bob in Halloween.
But it's way cooler. Sorry, guys.
Well, this is cooler?
I think. I mean, two different things. In the original Halloween, it's really cool, tension building, creepy.
Mm-hmm.
This is just Jason being a badass and stabbing a lady, lifting her off the ground and impaling her into a fucking tree. It's not just lift the guy up, stab. It's
has the longest machete known to man because it goes through the tree. And the blood somehow goes through the tree too, which is, I don't think that's how that works, but
it's normal. It's normal.
Yeah.
Redwoods.
Just assume it's because he's like, it's not real.
It's not real. It's a dream.
I just assume that's why.
Yeah. So you see, it's the girl that he kills, and then she like morphs into different people, and Jason's mom shows up.
Hey, Jason's mom
tells,
She's extra toasty though.
She looks toasty.
No, he does.
Jason.
Extra toasty.
He's been through a lot of shit, except for when they ignore the shit that he's been through.
So supposedly this ignores all the Friday the 13th movies except for Jason Goes to Hell, because the fact that this is a New Line Cinema Jason. So that's why he doesn't have the axe mark in his mask.
It's funny that they ignore those, but they include stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's so contradicting.
Yeah.
I know I hear what you're saying. I'm just
yeah. A lot of people are like, "Who cares?" And I'll be like, "Well, that's kind of the point of the show. We like to nitpick at things that don't know. Yeah, we don't care either. We just want to point it out.
Just throw it out the window.
I could consider like the Friday the 13th franchise. I consider like the Showa Godzilla franchise or the original Godzilla franchise, for those who are not familiar with that terminology, to just that loose connection between everything. It's not solid, but there's some loose connection there. But when you just take that all away or decide to ignore portions of it, I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to fuck anything up to add the chain, to add the notch in his mask. It's not going to mess anything up.
Right.
Like, how easy is it to add a notch in the mask?
It's
like,
it's easy as 1-2 pie.
If you have good enough special effects people.
Yeah, it's easy. It's simple. Anyway.
So yeah, she's telling Jason to go to Elm Street because you got to teach those kids a lesson. And then you see that mommy turns into Freddy. And you're like, oh, you used him. But you get to see Jason come back to life. You get to see like all of his like organs start to come back to life. His heart starts beating. Yeah, and he like rises from the dead. So you see all of his organs and shit. And like, was the jacket like hanging up on a rock or something? He just like grabbed it. And
he just picked it up. He's like, yeah.
Because he wasn't wearing that jacket when he was in the grave. No. So now we're on.
This is where you see the teeth change again. It looks like
it looks like
Freddy has
normal
wooden teeth.
Yeah,
we're currently watching it, by the way.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That helps me. So like, if I forget something, this is something that I guess ignore because it's like, who cares? But all Freddy tells him to do is go to Elm Street. And if you can recall, if you've ever seen Freddy's Dead, there is an iconic scene where Freddy comes out of the basement and he goes, that's the beauty of it. Every town has an Elm Street. And it's like, well, then you weren't very specific about which Elm Street that Jason was supposed to go to.
Yep.
You should have been like, you need to go to Elm Street, Springwood, Ohio, zip code. I don't know.
I'll give you the instructions.
He's got like he gives him map quests.
Yes. I was about to say that. He's just printing them off his computer,
Jason with his lazy eye, which I wasn't a fan of, by the way. I did not like lazy eye Jason.
I know it's supposed to be like his. I mean, this is what people call him. So if somebody's offended by this, but Mongoloid Jason, when he's like, looks
like Backhead Jason when he takes off the mask there. That's kind of what he looks like. Yeah. So we're on Elm Street now, and we get to meet our core characters, and they're just all characters. We meet,
wonderful.
Yeah, we meet Kia, played by Kelly Rowland, Lori, played by Monica. What the hell's her name? Monica Keller or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah,
probably.
And Gib.
Keena.
Sorry, I'm not good with names unless I have it right in front of my face. And they're playing Fuck, Marry, Kill with the Three Stooges, and I went, "Wow, this is fun."
And that is for the time, though.
No, I know that was a game, very popular game, but this is like, I was with Key. I was like, why are we doing this? This doesn't seem fun at all. This is horrible.
Still randomly get people that ask me that, and I'm like, I don't
but then
know.
You're introduced to these characters. You're like, boy, I feel like I'm not going to like any of these characters. But then her Gibbs' boyfriend shows up, and I went, oh, this guy takes the cake of garbage. Just absolute dumpster fire of characters. Oh man, Trey and Blake. But when a guy's name, no offense to anybody out there who's nice, who's named Blake, but usually Blake never gets associated with a nice guy.
No, and Blake's
it's always some tool bag in fictional work.
Yes, in the wait, hold on. Which is Blake her boyfriend or is it the other?
No,
guy?
Blake was the friend. Trey was the boyfriend.
Yeah, Blake's the guy who's sitting there in the chair rearranging his packaging.
Yeah, and he's talking about feng shui, and I was like, "Is this Bad Boys 2? This is what Martin Lawrence talks about when he's high as fuck." I like your feng shui, and that was a more interesting feng shui conversation.
He's drinking, so
you got a beautiful fish, big fucking eyes, nice.
Yeah. I wanted to punch Trey in the face a couple
times. He's the worst.
He's a piece of shit. Babe, don't make me ask you again.
Don't make me ask you twice.
Times.
That's it.
Even later, I'm like, yeah. But
even when he's dead, even when he's dead, spoiler, he's still a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's still a piece of shit. But when her friends ask her what she sees in him, she's like, I don't know, but he has a nice ass.
What?
That doesn't matter.
Somebody has self-esteem issues.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, because I thought I told you not to smoke when we were going to make out or whatever.
Oh my God. It's just, it's the fact that, they go upstairs to have sex. And so Blake is down there trying to get with Lori. And of course, Kia's trying to help that get along. And Lori's like, I don't want this. Yeah. And Blake goes into the kitchen to get some beers. You go upstairs where, the couple is doing their fun time. And literally in the shot, Trey is just laying there like this. Like he is not enjoying it at all. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro?
No.
Either you're just the biggest fucking piece of shit, which that's the right answer. Or there's something you're not telling people. Open the closet. Let everybody know.
Yep. Trey just see.
That's all I'm going to go with that.
Here we are at this scene, and she's doing all the work, and he's sitting there fucking like a wet mattress.
He's just.
Yep.
He's got his mouth open like he's about to fall asleep. Like, okay.
So. Yeah. So this is when you get like the fake jump scare down in the kitchen where Blake's getting some beers and he sees the back door open and the two girls go in there and Blake's like, oh, you left your door. The door was open. But then we go upstairs and, Gib is trying to get all cuddly with Trey. And I was like, why? This is not a cuddly dude. And he's like, babe, don't you know I don't like to get touched after? And he's like, ugh. And she's like, well, I'm going to take a shower. He's like, good, because you smell like menthols. And it's like, you suck.
We point out one thing. Does everybody notice the fact that the power is out?
Yeah, so there's like got a hand out of candles and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Why? There's not going to be hot water.
Yeah, that's a cold
at least not
shower.
very much.
Unless they have
hot water heater.
Gas.
Yeah, hot water.
It could be gas in a newer house like this. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure they have a hot water heater, but it's not going to last that long.
No.
Depends on how long she's in there. Anyhow, carry on.
So.
I like this.
Yeah, I do too.
So she goes in to take a shower, and Trey is, he opens a fresh beer, but before he can enjoy that beer, Jason's like, "What's up, bro?" And then stabs him 10 times in the back. And I love how it shows.
Your heart out.
I just love how it shows it from the top and the bottom of him just getting destroyed. And then, of course, I do love the after where he's like twitching and the beer is shaking in his hand. And then Jason just grabs both sides of the bed and fucking flips him up like a flip phone.
So there's
let me make you an accordion.
So there's some things in here that I do like that Ken does. So like there are some early Jasons, 2, 3, 4. 4 is I like the guy that does in Jason part 4. But they just kind of do the role and they do the role, right? But there's like Ken, like after he, folds this fucker, like a newspaper, before he does it actually, he takes his machete and he stabs it into the fucking hardwood and then folds him up.
Yeah.
Just a little short. They didn't have to show that. He could have just set the fucking thing down. Nobody would have asked. And then, of course, I'm surprised she didn't. I knew she was hearing something, but like that's kind of a pink going into that floor would have been a lot of noise. But anyway.
Yeah, because she gets out. Of course, we get the egregious over the curtain shot of her taking a shower, and you're like, okay. I mean, as a 12-year-old boy, I was a fan, but watching it now, I'm like, okay.
You're like Leonardo DiCaprio and Wolf of Wall Street. When the boobs came up.
Hey, he's seen plenty boobs.
No, and then like the blood comes out from underneath the door.
Yeah, she slips
a lot of fucking blood.
Yeah, and she opens up and sees him.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just casually out here, bleeding everywhere.
He tried his best to hang on to that fucking beer, though.
Oh, yeah, he did. So everybody freaks out. They run out of the house. And, of course, there's a cop driving by right at that moment. And it's that Stubbs. And she's like, "Oh, is there anything wrong?" And she's like, "What do you fucking think?" Yeah, she's like covered in blood. Yeah. And you find out that Lori lives at 1428 Elm Street, which is Nancy Thompson's house. It was also the house in part 2. This is Freddy's favorite house.
That's the one with the blow-up doll got pulled through the window.
Yeah. 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 So the police
very well done.
Want to keep it quiet. They are like, one guy, you got the one cop who's like, "Oh my God, it's happening again. Freddy Krueger." And then one cop's like, "Shut the fuck up, you idiot. We've got to keep this quiet."
Whose name shall not be mentioned.
It's Harry Potter all over again.
Yeah. It's just adult.
This is Harry. This is the day Harry was found, but it's Freddy Krueger instead. Oh God. And of course,
having a bad day, he's bald, no nose.
And of course, Lori is like peeking in, like, "What are they talking about? I hear a name. What did they say? Huh?"
She's just reading lips.
Yeah, she goes to the police station and they're questioning her, and she's like, "What's that name you said? What's that guy you said?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about." She's like, and she just puts her head down. She's like, "Oh, what's his name? What's his name?" And as soon as she says Freddy Krueger, she then goes into a dream.
I fell asleep fast.
She fell asleep real fast after all this shit.
So this is where you get the dripping, the blood dripping down the hallway, which they actually tried to do it practical, but I guess it just didn't look very good. They couldn't get it to like land right and just look right, so they had to do the CG blood.
I think they could have, because we've seen blood drops done in other movies. I'm sure there was probably some reason why it didn't work, but it's been done before.
Yeah.
And I don't see why. I don't know. It just seemed like fucking CG it.
I just remember seeing they if you watch the Dead Meat kill count on this, he does have the behind the scenes shot of them trying to do it.
I'm sure there's a reason. I wasn't there.
I guess it was more Ronnie Yu going, "Oh, I like they showed him the shot probably of the practical and then of the CG, and he was like, "I like that one." They're like, okay, cool.
Well, he looks like he needs something. Ronnie Yu, based on how this movie goes, obviously wants more bombastic.
Oh, he wanted this just to be an absolute brawl.
Yeah, so probably just wanted something more flashier.
I can see the whole when the blood disappears, not being able to do that. CG.
Why didn't he make it disappear? I guess it's to make.
But I feel like they could have like put something over the floor that could have not reacted, like almost like water, like when you drop something in water, and it makes that. I feel like they could have worked with it.
I just want to point out right now, we were watching this. That floor needs to be re-waxed.
I knew you were going to point something out with the floor.
Well, you kept talking about the floor. It's my job.
Just enjoy. I don't know if the little girl's makeup was...
That was CG. 100%. That was CG.
I just assumed it was. I just enjoy this part with her.
Yes, this was creepy. This was a very, like, creepy part.
Kids freak me the fuck out.
Yeah.
When they're in horror movies like this. Especially when you start playing multiple voices over top of each other.
Well, so, you know,
I used to watch a show. Well, I used to watch a show when I was younger. Shouldn't have watched it because it freaked me out and kept me up. But, you know, that was me. I'm the torture yourself. You can go to sleep. You'll be fine. It was a show with... It was like a paranormal show, but it was two kids talking simultaneously. Scared the shit out of me. But I would constantly watch it. But then I couldn't sleep. That's okay.
But yeah, you get the whole thing where Lori runs. Yeah, she goes down, finds the little girl missing her eyes. I do like the one where she walks by and all the missing kids poster, like all the kids look at her as she walks by. And then, of course, the little girl explains Freddy Krueger to her, like the fact that what his name is and what he likes. He likes little girls. And then she is outside of her house, and you got the blood going down the door, and then you got the jump rope girls that have shown up in a bunch of the Nightmare movies singing the 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Yeah.
We used to sing that as we jumped rope, and I didn't even know where it came from.
And then Freddy just goes, boo! And then she wakes up.
Scary.
We then go to Blake's house, and Blake is being confronted by his dad, asking him why he was over at the house. And, of course, you get, like, the response, like, my best friend just died, Dad!
Oh, fuck you, Dad.
You drinking again?
You better watch it, boy. I'm gonna bust your ass. Like, I mean, I get, like, the dad being mad, but, like, his kid just went through some shit, so, like, maybe some insensitivity.
Yeah.
We get that about the parents being kind of shit in this place, but I don't know.
I kind of get it, though, because I feel like he's a troublemaker.
Yeah.
So he's probably, like,
he's probably had a history. We just don't know it. So.
And...
Yeah. So the dad goes away, and then Blake sees Freddy. He goes down and kind of confronts him, and then Freddy does like the whole, like, it was like a spirit type of thing, projection, where he tries to stab through him, but nothing happens. And then he wakes, and then Blake wakes up to his dad just sitting next to him, and he's like, Dad? And then his dad's head just pops off, and he's holding it. And then he turns and there's Jason, and then he uses his dad's head as a shield.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, God.
His dad squirts like a little fountain, though.
God damn. No, that was a mix of his dad and him, because Blake was dead, too. So now we go to Weston Hills, which is the psychiatric hospital that showed up in Nightmare 3. It's called, and we meet Will and Mark. And they are given a drug called Hypnosil. And I love how Mark, he's like, hey, man, what does this do? And they're just like, it gets you calm enough so I can beat your ass. And he's like, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then Will sees the news. He sees the news report about the incident at Lori's house. And he, freaks out about it because, of course, he and Lori had a history. And, of course, Will starts to freak out, but then Mark pulls him away, and they have a conversation about trying to get out. Like, Will wants to get out to see if Lori's okay. I love how he tells the guys, like, that one random guy is just like, hey, I'm not a checkers guy. I'm an Uno guy, so why don't you get the fuck up and go get an Uno deck?
I was prepared for the guy with the checkers board to just get pissed off and like hit him with it or throw it.
Yeah.
I was wanting more.
Mark and Will are my two favorite human characters. I think they're the best written characters, and it sucks that one of them doesn't last long. They shoo him away, and then you see him for one other scene, and then it's over, and it's like it's just disappointing. I wish it focused more on these guys. I wouldn't cared if they still brought in Laurie. You know, they want to make her the final girl of this movie and all that, whatever. But the fact is they got rid of one of the characters they should have kept throughout the entire thing, or at least kill him at the end.
Yeah, but we keep the fucking stoner around. For a bit part.
He's not, to be honest, he's not even the worst part of this fucking movie.
No, he's not. He's not. I'm just saying, like, in comparison to character quality, even the little nerdy dude we get introduced to later, which is
Linderman.
Yeah, Linderman.
For him.
I know.
Yeah, but he's just not. He's just there. He does not play into anything.
No.
Yeah, and this dude at least had some connection with his brother.
They could have used Linderman better though.
Yeah.
So Mark does a whole monkey show to to steal the key. Yeah, he shows his ass and does some crazy shit, and then he gets drugged. But he steals the key to pretty much to get them to escape the hospital. And they go directly to a school, which is just a perfect place to go. But we also see early in the morning that Laurie's dad has been... is this like new? Do you think he's been drugging her every day with the Hypnosil?
Maybe.
Like all the kids in Springwood being drugged with the Hypnosil? That's why no one's remembering. I know they do point into this later on in the movie, the fact that like the reason... the main plot point, the fact that Freddy's lost all of his power because no one remembers. So are all like no one dreams in the town, or just the fact that the parents just didn't tell their kids, or I don't know.
Let's see if the parents were like subtly drugging their kids.
Yeah.
For this reason, there was it happened in a movie earlier than this. The same plot point where they were trying to keep the kids safe. So they were like not drugging them, but putting stuff in there like water and stuff.
Yeah.
Just to keep them safe because they know what happened.
Doesn't the government do that to us with fluoride? I'm just joking.
So pretty much Laurie wants to go back to school. The dad doesn't think it's a good idea, but she's like, nah, I don't want to go to sleep because she knows what's going to happen. So she leaves, and the dad is working with the police to try to keep everything quiet, try to make sure that Freddy's name doesn't get spread around the town, which to a degree, like, I feel like we're supposed to view the cops and Laurie's dad as like bad guys. But like watching it now, you're like, yeah, I mean, it's not right to drugs. I mean, 100%, it's not okay to drug someone without their knowledge. That is not okay at all.
Yeah.
There's probably a better way you could have gone about, making sure people don't dream, or, making sure that Freddy's name doesn't get spread around. But I guess you could see him as a bad guy just because he does that. But I felt like there was other ways, but I also feel like they're not like completely evil people.
Yeah.
Because they're trying not to spread panic because a lot of kids died a long time ago and they don't want that to happen again. But here comes fucking Mark. Freddy Krueger. Hey, everybody at school, Freddy Krueger. And they're like, who? And now everyone remembers Freddy Krueger. You're like, Mark's the bad guy.
Place and time.
Fucking Mark.
Way to go, dude.
So they go back to school, and of course, like, everybody's like making fun of them and shit. So they go, Laurie goes back to school, and she meets up with her friends, and of course, like, everybody's staring at them because of the fact that, people died, and they find out Blake died, and then Kia throws out a Columbine comment, and I was like, okay, I don't think we needed that. I don't think this is, nope. Okay, Kia.
time, dude.
They definitely wrote some really questionable lines for Kia. And if I was Kelly, I wish Kelly Rowland would have been like, I'm not saying this. But also, it's like the early 2000s where like this isn't even the worst thing that's
nobody
been
cares.
said, especially in horror.
I mean, not to belittle Columbine in any way, but it's just this is not that different than shit that would have been said at school at the time.
Oh no, absolutely not.
No, because I was in high school at the time.
Because it was only 4 years later.
Yeah,
that was kind of inappropriate. But
yeah, I mean, I understand. I get, especially from our age now and the modern viewpoint, but that's shit that we would have said in school.
Right.
Like it's 100% shit we would have said in school.
I mean, it's no worse.
Not saying make it okay. I'm just saying
it's no worse than stuff that gets said nowadays.
So they find out there's a party going on at the cornfield, and it's run by Freeberg, aka knockoff Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, and then we have a knockoff Jack Black, who's all the other guy running this fucking party. Jesus,
this he didn't start singing.
Nah, this guy sucks. This guy sucks.
He fucking does.
So Mark, then this is when Mark just strolls in and is just like, Freddy Krueger, Freddy, everybody remember Freddy. And I was like, Mark, shut the fuck up. Because even later he's like, oh fuck, I fucked up. I spread the word. And it's like, yeah, you did, you dumbass.
What if I fucked up the parents' plan? Like, you stupid. What do you? But anyway.
So I guess Evangeline Lilly is in this scene. You know who Evangeline Lilly is? She played Wasp in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Really?
She's just a student that's just leaning up against a locker in the background as like this whole conversation is happening. Thank you, Dead Meat, and the Dead Meat kill count. So, yeah.
In a world that has been completely divided for so long, two movie fans have decided to unite for the people and the betterment of mankind. One, an action movie buff. The other, a horror movie fanatic. Together, they will try to bridge the gap of both genres into one podcast with their battle cry, Give me back my action and horror movies. Listen along as Charlie and Nate alternate each week talking about action and horror movies they cherish, mostly from the VHS era. Also, including some modern examples that felt like the movies they grew up with by answering the battle cry, Give me back my action and horror movies. Available wherever you listen to podcasts. Look them up on Facebook and Instagram.
So this is when Will again shows up, and Will and Lori unite. Like, yay! They touch each other's faces. They're like, oh, I miss you so much.
Smooth.
And then she faints. And then Robert Shea comes out looking all disheveled. Robert Shea, who is the founder of New Line Cinema, producer of every single Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and brother of Lynn Shea, who would be in the Insidious movies. She was in the original Nightmare on Elm Street as well.
Oh, well, you just got to get your screen time, I guess.
Yep. So Kia and Gib, they go to the nurse's office to be with Lori, and this is when Kia mentioned earlier the fact that she was asking about if she needed a nose job, and I was like, your nose, there's nothing wrong with your nose. Like, I'm looking at her face, I'm like, your nose is like perfect. What the fuck are you talking about?
I can see where she's coming from. You know.
Yeah.
They play into the whole female
like body image, yeah.
Image issues.
Right.
So I can see it.
She asked the nurse, and this is when you start to feel you start to feel like something's up, because every time she talks to the nurse is like, shh, and you're like, okay, fucking aggressive.
The nurse can't help you.
Yeah, the sign on her desk says the nurse can't help you. Like, what good are you then?
And this is when she's looking through the magazine, looking at things, and what magazine is this in the school where it's just like, I understand it's a procedure magazine, but they just got titties in there. Like,
yeah,
this is it's for the boob job stuff, but
yeah, I think that plays into what's going on here. I don't think it's
actually there.
Like, I don't think those images are actually in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's more in her head. But all I can think of is I think it's the TLC song that's about
Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls.
Yeah, because it shows the one looking at the magazine, or maybe it is the magazine that she's looking at. But it's all about all that. There's a verse in there that's all about.
Yeah.
I was like, dang it! Why are you bringing this up again? I'm reliving my 90s issues.
But yeah, this is when Freddy shows up in the magazine. He's like, "Got your nose," and pulls it out. Most of this is practical, by the way. The whole nose removal. It was actually a prosthetic nose on a green screen, and they just put the glove in there and pop them out. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty sweet. I like that.
I just felt like I was playing with my kids. Like, got your nose.
Got your nose.
Daddy's got a nose. Anyway.
Oh my god.
For those of you that get that reference.
Yes, I get it.
Oh. So Mark pretty much is like, we need to prove that Freddy exists. So they go to the library and they're looking through all like the articles and stuff, and they notice that a lot of things are kind of like are gone. Like they can't find much evidence on him.
Shit.
Yeah. And
microfish, people. Microfish.
Yep.
If you know
and he pretty much is like, I need to prove that he exists because I know that that's why my brother died. He didn't end himself. Freddy was the reason he did it. So they get back to Mark's house, and this is when Mark realizes that he's fucked up by, saying Freddy's name to everybody and kind of putting it in people's heads. So it's like, this is, the town had a plan and I fucked up that plan. It's like, oh man. Good job, man. And so he lets Will borrow the van so he can go check up on Lori. We get to the cornfield party, and this is when Linderman stands up to Kia, because earlier we saw there was an interaction because Linderman has a crush on Lori, and Kia's always stepping in the way, giving him shit and all that. And so he pretty much stands up for himself and pretty much, it's like, the only reason that you say these things to me is because you don't even like yourself. She's like, I just love Lori's reaction, like, oh, but she doesn't actually do that. But I was like, God damn, she just killed you right there. So Will shows up. They have a conversation. Again, we have another reunion between him and Lori, and Gib is fucked up. And of course, you got Freeberg in line waiting for a beer, fucking talking about Trey and how he got all sliced up, and she gets pissed, but she wanders off. And then you got the dude with the glow sticks who's like, ooh, and you're like, oh no,
that's a problem.
Yeah,
that's bad foreshadowing.
Yeah. So she wanders into the cornfield and she sees dead Trey. He's like, hey, babe, I've only been dead like 2 hours and you're already getting fucked up. He's like, come on. And he's like, babe, don't make me ask you twice.
Such a piece of shit.
Even dead Trey is the worst.
Yeah.
So she follows dead Trey to the shed, but then it turns into a boiler room because it's again a scene where she sees somebody, but you don't see them. But then she's like trying to escape, she can't get out, and she's then you see Freddy like in the distance. Of course you get like it's like an iconic shot of Freddy where he's like behind, the steam and stuff like that.
It's recreating a scene from the first movie, right?
Yes, where he's like, gliding the claws along the railing and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. It's been a minute since I've seen the first movie. So.
I mean, the way that Robert Englund is able to manipulate the gloves and just make them very interesting, like he's very animated with his glove. I always found that great, like the way he's able to like tap them and he flicks, when he flicks the pointer up and stuff like that. And I love the use of color when it was like with Freddy, it's red. That's when like he's around, and then I think Jason is like a green or blue. Yeah, depends on it depends on the situation. Yeah.
Yeah, the party right now, of course it's at night, but there's obvious blue hue.
Yeah.
The party is a lot of blue.
So so of course Gib is in a dream, but her unconscious body is laying on the ground, and you get the freaking this piece of shit glow stick guy who's trying to taking advantage. And it doesn't last long, thank God, because Freddy, of course, is trying to pin Gib in a locker, or he's just trying to chase her down, and she ends up hiding in a locker, and Freddy chases her. But as he's about to kill her, she gets killed by Jason. And I love it. I love watching I mean, it sucks that Gib died, but the fucking piece of shit glow stick guy gets killed, but he gets skewered, and then fucking Jason just fucking tosses him.
Launched him.
Fuck that guy.
I was like, bye, fucking piece of shit.
To be, thematic with that, he took the pumpkin catapult.
Yep.
Yes. Pumpkin chunkin.
Yep.
Yes, pumpkin chunkin.
So, of course, this pisses Freddy off. He's like, she's mine. He's all pissed off. And
he's like, you're not supposed to kill them. I'm supposed to kill them.
This is when you get a scene where I feel it's kind of torn, especially with the way some of the kills look. But I think this whole next scene is fucking awesome because it's all done with real fire stunts. And it's the fact where he runs into fake Jack Black and random other guy who is just there. And he's like, he talks like that surfer guy. He's like, they're talking about like going to find a pig to fuck and just the worst dialogue ever. And then of course the guy's like poking at his chest to the point where Jason spins his head around. Doesn't look great. Pushes him over. And then of course the fake Jack Black guy mentions the fact that he's drinking Everclear, and he throws the Everclear on Jason and sets him on fire. It's so good. This fire stunt
just materializes the tiki torch. From
like, whoa. He's just like, but the overhead shot of Jason walking through the cornfields, just fully ablaze, and then of course the guy's running away, and then you get the awesome like machete throw, which like stabs him. I love the fact though where they just squirted a bunch of blood in the dude's mouth. They're like, just
you could see it.
You got to hold it in there, buddy. And as soon as we tell you, you got to. It's so funny. But yeah, then of course you get the whole slaughter where he's on fire, just slicing dudes up. I love how when you look really close, there's moments where Jason actually doesn't hit the person, but the dude starts bleeding.
It's when he chops the keg.
The keg slice. Yeah, he's like, ugh. There's one where he slices a guy and you actually can see the apparatus that's underneath the suit. It's funny. It's funny, but it's still a great shot. I love when the beer splashes on him and puts out the fire.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's fantastic.
Keg guy, I was like, what's going on? Like, I had looked up right after that, and I'm like, I don't even see anything happen to him. He's
the thing was off, and they're like, good enough.
Yeah, they didn't care. The fact that the fire stunts were fantastic, so it didn't even matter.
Yes.
Didn't even matter.
Because I had said, I wonder how long he was actually on fire in some of these scenes. Like, I know fire stunts, they can't be on fire for so long.
Yeah, I can't remember the time frame, but it was like
some of them it felt like they were uncut, and he's just
I think they said
lumbering.
I think they said the cornfield scene was like 25 seconds or something like that of him walking through. I could be wrong. I can't remember the time frame. And then of course like the other ones were it was a lot shorter because it was just like slice. Okay, put him out.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So we then go back to Will. He's driving Lori home. Well, he's driving everybody home, and everybody's all freaked out from what they saw. And everybody goes home, and then Will kind of tells Lori the fact that he saw her dad kill her mom.
Yeah.
And of course, as this is mentioned, the dad just shows up, tries to choke out Will. Yeah. And then, of course, you get the whole argument between Lori and her dad about, like, what happened to mom? Did she die in a car accident? He's like, of course she did. And he's like, bullshit. And, the fact, he pretty much hasn't told Lori anything. Like, she didn't know that he worked at Weston Hills. She didn't know that he was involved in, like, any of this stuff. Yeah. And so she runs away. She runs back to Will. and they determine they need to go back, or they need to go talk to Mark because he's the expert on Freddy. And this is when they made a terrible decision. And I mean, this is to be honest, I like the whole dream sequence with Mark, but they take him out too early, man. I was very disappointed. So Mark, of course, is trying to stay awake, but he ends up falling asleep. But you don't know that. You just realize it based on like the scenarios that is happening.
Yeah.
And of course, it's the whole thing where like you get the shot where he finds one sleeping pill or one pill that'll keep him awake. And when he closes the mirror, Freddy's there. He drops it in the sink and he's freaking out. He's trying to keep himself awake. Then he sees his brother in the tub. And I like the fact that it goes from his brother's voice to Freddy's voice.
Yep.
You get the things that like attach to Mark's feet that like keep him there.
Yep.
And then it's the whole thing where he's now in his bedroom and Freddy is just playing with him. He's like throwing him all over the room. He sets him on fire. The weird thing was, so they go to visit Mark. How the fuck did they know this was happening to Mark? Because they literally like pull up to his house like they knew what was happening to him. Like there's no cell phones. They didn't get a call from Mark like, I'm asleep. But there was the shot where he's like, someone please wake me up. And then literally the next shot is them like fucking crashing into garbage cans like, Mark. You're like, how the fuck did you know? How did you know?
I just assumed that they knew because he was the one that was telling everybody about Freddy.
Well, I remember with the whole "somebody please wake me up." I always remember that shot being used in a lot of promotional material for the movie, like the trailers.
That's what I started singing at this time. Okay. I was like, "Damn it!"
But I agree because he wasn't. I don't know if I'm trying to determine if Freddy was going to kill him in the first place, because he says, "I don't want to hurt you or kill you. I just want you to spread a message for me." And he refuses to, and that's when he kills him. So I don't know if he was going to actually kill him at that point in time or just use him for more hysteria. I don't know.
I think he just wanted to do what he does to him at the end, but he ends up killing him in the process because the fact that Mark fought it.
Yeah.
That was Freddy's back. Just saying.
It was Freddy's back.
Yeah, very true.
It belongs to him.
That's America's ass.
So then we're at the police station, and the cops, of course, you have the sheriff or whatever he is. He's, pretty much like trying to keep everything quiet. Stubbs, I guess, is new to the town, so he doesn't really know the history and what the hell what's going on. So he's trying to figure it out. He's trying to bring information about Jason Voorhees, and the guy's like, "Fucking shut up, shut your mouth. We got this under control. We know who it is. We've done this shit before. I don't need any of your information." And the guy's like, okay. So Stubbs ends up finding Will and the whole group there because they're all hanging out in the basement. And this fucking scene is not good. This scene is just, the entirety of it is just like, ugh. But Stubbs comes to help because clearly people at his own job won't help him. So he's going to try to help them. So he tells the story of Jason. It's the whole, we already know the story of Jason, the fact of, his mom killing people because Jason drowned, blah, blah, blah. You guys know the story of Jason. Or you should, yeah. And you get, this is when, like, Laurie is sitting on the couch. Like, everybody's sitting around the table and Laurie's sitting on the couch. And this is when she get the line of, Freddy was killed by fire and Jason by water. How can we use this? And I went, what?
You don't?
Why is this important?
What? And this is when like they do the whole thing about sacrificing a virgin, and they look at Linderman. He's like, "Hey, even if you pay for it, it still counts." I was like, "Oh my god!" But then they all look at Laurie and is like, "Oh, we know Will." It's the whole thing. It was like, "Oh, we know you never did anything with Will," and then like Will's like, and I was like, "What the hell?" Yeah. And so they think that Laurie's gonna get like tied up and shit, and then her dad shows up, starts making out with her, and I was like, "Whoa!" I've seen this movie 100 times, so I gotta pretend to have those reactions, like, "What the fuck?" It's weird. It was weird every time I've seen this movie.
It was,
even though it's a dream. But then it turns into Freddy, and then she rips Freddy's ear off, and it comes into the real world, and it's like, "Oh shit, we figured it out, guys." It's like, that thing that they've done in many of these nightmare movies. They're able to pull Freddy out of the dream. So Will tells them about Weston Hills, that they use the hypnocil. They need to go there to get the hypnocil and to keep themselves awake until they can figure out what to do. So they go there. This guard gets fucked, by the way. He goes to, because there's big banging going on at the door, and he gets squashed.
Flattened.
They find a room full of people in comas, and they find out that these are the ones that wouldn't stop dreaming.
Yeah.
So they were put into like medically induced comas, and it was all written off by Laurie's dad. And like, wow. And this is when you get Freeburg and the Freddy caterpillar, which I really wish was practical. Oh, I know. Man.
The scene is so goofy, but I've seen this movie with it so many times now. Like, I would hate if it wasn't here.
Oh no, I to be honest, it does not affect me in any way. I like, people have a lot to say about Freeburg, and it's like Freeburg's really not that bad of a character. Yes, he is a ripoff of Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, but he's fine. But this whole encounter, of course, it makes a lot of sense with the character he is. But I just, I really wish the Freddy caterpillar was practical, because they could have made it look really cool, especially with how they made the Freddy worm from Nightmare 3, the one that like eats the girl, and then the whole. You've seen Nightmare 3, right?
No.
Dream Warriors, really?
I've only seen the first one.
Oh my god.
Same.
Yep, well, I know, right?
We're going through that whole franchise at some point.
Absolutely.
Next year for Nightmare on Elm Street's 40th anniversary.
There you go.
We'll find an anniversary for something, by golly.
Absolutely. You know how this works.
Absolutely, I do.
So yeah, so the worm
anniversary.
Yes. So he tries to chase after the caterpillar, and he goes into the room where all the people are in the comas, and they're all sitting up.
Yep.
And then
they're mouthing stuff.
Yeah, you can't hear what they're saying. He's like, one of them like goes right up to him. Yeah, and he's just like, and he's like, oh, I can't do that. He's like, I can't do that. We need that. And he goes over to the sink, and in the cabinet is, I guess, the only hypnocil in the entire facility.
Oh, it has to be. It has to be.
But then the worm hops up, or is like hanging from the fucking ceiling or whatever, and like goes down his throat. And you're like, well, I guess we're getting a shout out to Jason Goes to Hell with the voodoo worm. Well,
we get other references to it too.
So, of course, he is now possessed by Freddy, and he pours all the hypnocil down the drain. And Linderman, he sees it on the window. He's like, no, Freeburg, we need that. And then immediately turns around and screams because Jason's there.
Yeah.
And Jason, of course, stabs a panel and starts electrocuting him, and then he fucking just throws his arm out and electrocutes Stubbs. And I was like, oh man, that was another character who's not the worst. Like, he was actually an okay character, and they just take him out.
Yep, I agree.
George Bush.
It's like characters that like have potential to do something or be interesting, just get off.
Yeah. So Freeburg Freddy loads up a couple syringes full of drugs and waits for Jason in the hallway. And I just love how everybody's trying to get him to come, and he's just like, let me do this, bitch.
Yep.
And they're like, look what he's got. And of course he stabs him with the drugs, knocks him out, but Freeburg gets sliced in half. And there's actually a moment you can tell that Freddy is not possessing him anymore. Like right after he drugs him, I think Freddy leaves him because he kind of like comes to as he's being like cut in half. I thought that was a cool little touch.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Jason is now in Dreamland, and this is when we get, Freddy, of course, it's his world, so he is able to play around with everybody. So, of course, he tries to make it look like Jason has the upper hand, cuts off both of his arms, but then, of course, he can grow them back, and then he fucks with Jason. He, like, fucking beats the shit out of him. He uses him like a pinball, and, of course, you get the sound effects, too, as he's being flung around.
I said that. I was like, oh, he's playing pinball. And then it made the pinball sound. Yeah. I was like, damn it.
So this was I think this was actually the shot that they did practically. They actually had a guy up on wires and stuff, and Ronnie Yu saw it all in CG and was like, "That one looks good." And the guys were just like, "Oh, okay,
sure."
Well, it's like the cop that dies, or the security guard that gets crushed by the door.
Yeah,
with the blood coming out from underneath the door. Could have easily been practical blood, but they just CG'd it.
Yeah.
Obviously, we all know just looks like shit. Does not age well.
So, and I do love the fact, though, after when he hits the final thing and he falls and he's just like tilt. And I was like, yep. Pinball joke. But then, Jason gets up and it starts to, like, Jason, they fight a little bit more. And then the pipes start to burst and water starts squirting out and the color changes. It goes from red to like a green or like a bluish green. And this is when you get the dumbest fucking plot point of this entire movie. Thank you, David S. Goyer.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Fucking whoever wrote this, like, oh, we should keep this in. This makes sense. Should be hitting the head with a fucking brick. Right?
This was written by somebody who's never seen a Friday the 13th movie.
Clearly.
So literally, Jason is afraid of water. And it's like, what? What? The dude, how many? I think he's walked out of water, come out of water in almost every Friday. At least, I know he has a kill at least on water in most of the Friday the 13th. Even before he becomes a zombie.
Yeah, even in the first couple, he had the infamous, jump scare from the lake multiple times.
But now we're making him afraid of water.
I know, it doesn't, dude.
Okay.
And at this point, he's already undead. What does he got to be afraid of?
Right.
Like, exactly. Like, this is what I'm talking about, where they cherry pick bits of the continuity. Right. And it just bothers. And then this is, for me, like I said, I'm always a Friday the 13th fan. It's my favorite slasher franchise. And like that pisses me off the most.
Right.
Wasn't he buried underwater?
Well, he literally sits underwater all through between 7 and 8, right?
Yeah. He gets
6 and 7, right?
He gets dragged under, and then he gets crushed by the dock in 7 into 8.
Yeah.
It's just
I don't know.
It's
weird.
It's very weird. And the thing is I know, no offense, but New Line's going to show favoritism to Freddy anyway.
Yeah.
Because that was theirs first. It's just how it's going to work, right? But ultimately, they don't want either one to look bad at the end. It was just a really dumb choice that didn't make any sense. They're like, how can we make him weak? Just believe it. You can figure something out. If just leave him drugged for half the movie. Freddy didn't have to do anything to his dreams. Just leave him drugged for like a portion of the movie. And then you make him ineffectual and let Freddy do his thing.
Yeah.
I do like the fight between both of them.
Yes.
But it's the certain points that they point out. Like,
I mean,
the fights are fun.
This is what everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see Freddy fight Jason. And so when the great thing about this movie is anytime you see these two fight, it's a good time.
Yeah.
It's very creative. It's not, and they don't make it even because they know, especially when we get to the parts where Freddy is in the real world, Freddy is at a very big disadvantage because he's a lot smaller and now he's a human pretty much. Well, where Jason is this like undead zombie, monster. So of course the water causes Jason to turn into a little baby boy. And of course he takes off the mask. You get the line. It's like, oh, a face only a mother could love.
Swampy Boy Jason.
Yep.
Why did that have to come in? Of all the things to take, bullshit things to take from Friday the 13th movies, why did you bring Swampy Boy Jason in? Which people like, oh, well,
of all of everything.
People might be like, well, it's a reference when he came out of the first one. Well, you should ignore that because that's not fucking part of the continuity if it's just the New Line shit. The only other movies you could bring up are 8? That stuff is dumb as shit.
God.
But anyway.
So dumb.
Freddy's face is only a face a mother could love.
Yeah. So
before he got burned, Robert Englund's a handsome gentleman.
Yes, he is. I actually just watched a movie with Robert Englund yesterday.
Wishmaster?
No, it was a brand new one that he was in. Him, Daniel Harris, and Bill Moseley.
Oh, nice. What was it?
It was called Natty Knox. It's on Tubi.
Not heard of that one.
It literally just came out. I think it only came out like a week or two ago, maybe.
There's a few other things we have to watch.
It's like an hour 25. It's pretty good. It's nothing to write home about, but when Robin Englund's on screen, it's fucking amazing. And I love Danielle Harris. She's you know who Danielle Harris is, right?
Sure.
She played Jamie in Halloween 4 and 5. She was Jamie Lloyd.
Oh, okay.
And she would come back and play Annie in Rob Zombie's Halloweens.
Oh, I feel bad for that girl. Anywho.
Oh, so they are in the van bringing unconscious Jason back to Crystal Lakes to give him home field advantage.
Yep.
Cool.
Sure.
I'm concerned as to how long they were in this van, because how many syringes did they have of the tranquilizer?
Unspecified amount of time.
I just want to point out the fact that Springwood is in Ohio and Crystal Lake is in New Jersey. So this is at least like a 5-6 hour drive.
Okay, so they were in for a while. It was just the fact that it felt like Linderman was giving him the
way too fast. How long does it last?
Like
he's like, oh, that's it, guys. And I was like, you just gave it to him 2 minutes ago. Why are you doing it again?
That is the question, though. With him being dead, how long would it last?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
All you need is a twitch. Give it to him again. Okay.
Yeah.
He's dead. He's out. Unconscious.
So Freddy hops into Jason's mind. This is always a shot that always would give me squirmy. Was the shot of him putting the claw through his fucking temple.
Yeah.
And at this time, Lori also goes under as well. And she is at Camp Crystal Lake. She's seeing baby Jason being bullied by all the kids, and all the camp counselors are like making out. Just like the fact that my wife laughed at this. Like she walked in on the part where it was the counselor just fucking the girl on the porch. She's like, oh. Then it turns into Freddy.
Are you coming? I can't help it. This broad's dead on her feet. I was fucking dude. I was like, yes, fucking yes.
It's like bunny rabbit style, like
dude. He's just going at it, man.
Oh, just oh my god! It was.
I was hoping your wife had watched.
It was a great reaction, just of like,
I'm a little bummed.
It was just like, oh,
yeah,
yeah. There was moments she would look on and be like, "What is this?"
It's a movie.
So we then, you see how Jason died, and then of course Freddy. Lori's trying to help him, and then Freddy comes up and pushes him under the water. But then Jason, for one, this was another weird thing where he's drowning, like the water's starting to bubble up out of his mask. Like, he's drowning, we can't let him die. It was like, he's already dead. No. He's a zombie, man.
Well,
did you not see the beginning of this movie?
Well, also when the kids are picking on the Jason, they put the bag on his head.
Oh yeah,
which is a reference to the two. Well, yeah, and like, why would you do that? Like, it's not part of the I know, I get it. But anyway, and then like she doesn't realize it's Jason that they're picking on until he comes out of the water, which I guess is supposed to be a reference to when he come out of the water at the beginning of the first one. I don't know. Anywho,
so Kia's gonna give him mouth to mouth, and I'd be like, no, thank you. But before she can,
gross out moment, just for giggles.
So I do like the fact when she's like slowly removing the mask, and it's just like bubbling out of his mouth.
I will say the shot of him laying there and like the water just like out of his mouth. I think it looks neat. Like, it's cool. Well done.
So
I didn't see it.
But she would have been grossed out long before she had to pry the mask off his face. She would have smelled something.
Yep.
So
he's a little
So he wakes up, and of course this caused chaos. They crash the van. Jason just flies out there in the most comedic way, bro. He's just like,
when the gun goes off that Linderman has, I'm surprised somebody didn't get shot and killed. Like just off another character randomly.
I completely forgot he even had a gun, to be honest. I don't even remember.
Who gave him a gun? And he's like,
he took it from the dead cop.
He's like, he took it. I'm like, still, who let him have it?
So why did Jason fly out like that, but not Kia or Linderman, who were not in the? They weren't sitting with a seatbelt on, and Lori was back there too. She didn't fly out of the van.
He's a brick.
Just Jason. Just bye. Just fucking out of there, man. Oh, man. So, and then of course, because Jason wakes up, he disappears from that dream world, and it pisses Freddy off to the point where we get this awesome fucking shot of Freddy shooting out of the water and landing on the deck. And this is when you get Demon Freddy, where he's like feet red, he's got the pointy teeth, and he looks very demonic. And I also got to point out the fact that when they're gonna give Jason mouth to mouth, that Linderman can't do it because he has asthma, and it just made me think of Deep Rising.
Yes, can you just get asthma?
He's like, I just love when Will's driving. He's like, yeah, he has asthma. Like, Deep Rising.
Oh, so good. So good.
Can we cover that again?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Go for twosies.
So Freddy then transports Laurie to her house, and it's kind of like back in time. So she's like in a nightgown, and she is seeing her dad. It's that vision again where she's seeing her dad with the knife going into their bedroom, and you're seeing the mom, and she's all bloody. And you think that the dad is going to kill her, but then you find out Freddy is the one that was doing it. And then you get the line, it's like, you know, I've always loved the whores who live in this house.
Yeah. Connection.
So this is when you get the really uncomfortable moment of Freddy fucking with Laurie, doing some things. I do like the whole thing where she's trying to run away, and you get the floor kind of rolling up. And like, oh man, I'm just like my ankle. I was like,
yeah, because it like,
god damn,
you can watch her feet get tied up by it too. The stunt person fall.
Yeah, because it wasn't just, you see the floor doing the wave behind her, but then it just like snaps up in front of her and like claps her whole ankle. Yeah, I'm like, that couldn't have felt good.
Yeah.
So the gang goes to Crystal Lake, and they go into one of the cabins, and they see Jason wandering around, and then he just bursts through the wall. He just fucking and Laurie won't wake up, and like a fire, and Jason starts the fire in the cabin, by the way. He just knocks shit over, knocks gasoline over, it gets lit. And so Laurie's arm falls into the fire, it wakes her up, and it pulls Freddy out. And this is when you get the fucking matchup where Freddy knows he's in the real world. And I love his reaction when he turns and sees Jason. He doesn't say it, but usually he's like, fuck.
Yeah. This isn't good.
Yeah, because he's like, oh no.
So, never mind. Just go ahead.
I just don't like the whole fight before it happens, where Jason puts his machete knife thing into the table, and
he can't get it out. Yeah,
I'm like,
and you get because then you get like three characters who just get thrown against the same wall. Like I think Kia gets thrown against the wall, Will gets thrown against the wall, and then Linderman gets thrown against the wall, but he gets the freaking coat hanger through the back, and you're like, oh.
I think it's I don't think it's a coat hanger. I think it's the flag holder, because he holds.
Oh, is that what it was?
The flag off. I think it's where the flag.
Oh, that's right. He stabs Jason with the flag, and that's when he fucking
And like, why is everybody trying to fight him?
And what about when?
They're like.
Yeah, and Will fucking gets gashed in the back, pretty good, but it doesn't seem to off him.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Angela. I didn't really like how it was like the same fucking scene over and over again.
I'm like, why the hell are you trying to fight him? First person didn't succeed, so run away.
Yeah. So yeah, Laurie wakes up, brings Freddy out, and this is when you get the fight. Of course, Jason has the upper hand because Freddy is now he's pretty much human now.
Well, he does, but the only problem is Jason is so slow in this movie.
Yeah,
and Freddy's like, borderline martial artist. And half his fucking fight.
You mean when
never seen Freddy like this before? Oh my god!
Like, nope. Doesn't hurt.
When Ronnie Yu said, I want to make this look like a wrestling match, he fucking succeeded, because there are wrestling moves in this. Like, there's the thing where like Freddy like grabs his shoulders, and it's just constantly like this man, like if this was real life, this man's kneecap would be shattered because of the amount of knees he was just given to Jason.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite bits, and this is like 100% like action, martial arts, over the top stuff, is when he throws Freddy out the window and just drags him along the side. I fucking love this. It had so honestly, dude, no place in this movie as what it's supposed to be, but great. it's enjoyable as shit.
I'm like, well, he's thrown him through all the supporting beams. Here, the roof's gonna collapse on him.
I mean, Jason tossed, like when they get to the outside that cabin, he picks Freddy up and just tosses him through the roof of another cabin.
Yep.
Here we go, pumpkin chucking number 3.
Well, actually, we were watching this, and Angela said something about, I was like, what about, why doesn't the roof fall on him? And then he goes to the roof.
He goes to the
roof. Like literally right before he just goes to the...
I mean, he took away like half the support beams of this cabin.
So it makes me think he's like, has a picture on MS Paint and just like deleted the middle section.
Yes.
Then we see Kia and Linderman. Linderman is in rough shape, and he just dies. He just dies of his wound from the flag holder or whatever the hell that thing was on the wall. And then we get the worst. Oof, this is a rough segment of this movie.
I know what it is.
This is a segment that Damian Shannon and Mark Swift have stated for years they did not write this part. And that is the interaction between Freddy and Kia, which... So... I'm not defending this scene. The scene is not good. It's just not a good scene at all. And, of course, she uses, she calls him the F word, and not the F word that we say a lot on this show, but the other one. And he has the line of, what is it? What is the line? What does he say to her?
Dark meat.
Oh, yeah, which is a play... Which is a play on a line he has in another Nightmare movie where he says, fresh meat. But they had to put the dark meat. I was like, oh, God. This is a David S. Goyer line, isn't it? It's a fucking... oh, God.
I will say, though...
She gets what's coming.
I get why people won't, especially in this day and age, wouldn't like the dialogue that is written in this scene. I do love Robert Englund's facial expressions as Freddy. In this scene, like at the beginning, because he's torn between going after the other two and her, and then he's like he can't. He just, the temptation's too strong to fuck with this girl who's talking shit.
But it's the whole thing with his claws. He's
where he's like pointing at her and stuff like that.
But even there's times where he's like walking towards her and he's just got the biggest shit-eating grin on his face.
Well, she's also like making fun of him. It's like, why a Christmas sweater? Why what's with the butter knives and stuff? Like those lines are fine. Like if she's talking shit to him, but it was the dark meat line, and then of course she calls him, the F word there, and it's just it's kind of an uncomfortable spot, especially watching it now. I guess when growing up in that time, it doesn't phase you because I feel like you hear it you heard that word all the time, or. It like maybe I just didn't understand why he said it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not gonna. We won't sit on this scene for too long. But she of course this is the scene where she's talking shit to Freddy, and then of course Freddy like points behind her, and it's Jason. And this is the fucking. She gets hit with his machete, and she turns into a rag doll. She hits that tree. She's like, whoa.
Doesn't even get cut in half. Just gets launched into a tree.
It's almost like he took the end of his machete and just like.
The blunt end and just hit him with it. Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
He's so
like,
good.
I ain't gonna waste time on you.
Oh, it's so great. So this is when you get the awesome scene in like the weird quarry or whatever the hell this area is, where Freddy like hits him with some air tanks and
the torpedo.
Yeah, it's great. It's like zing, zing. Yeah.
This is where I thought about the one scene. Fetch Me the Booze. We just recently watched it. Charge Me the Booze.
Oh, Make Me a Sergeant. Charge Me the Booze for them. Yeah.
This is all I could think of. I don't know why I thought about it during this scene.
fan of the torpedo.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just love that.
But
it's good.
He
He can't help but be Freddy and shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But the funniest thing is, he still seems like he can teleport because he goes from being down by those tanks all the way up to the top where he slices those rebar, and it just goes through Jason, and then he like unleashes the fucking whatever the hell that thing was that was like hanging there, and it's like
I don't know,
bouncing around, and
some big metal thing. The rebar's cool.
Yeah, and
fucking leg.
And Freddy tries to hit him with a mining cart, and it gets stuck, and then he falls onto the swinging thing, and I was just like, oh no.
Yes. And it seems like he still has some power, but it's really limited.
Yeah.
And reality.
I mean, he's in Jason's.
He's in Jason's world now, yeah.
Well, yeah, well, especially like what we're getting to here in just a moment.
Because when Jason was in his world, he was at a disadvantage.
Yep.
But he was still strong, just not as strong.
Well, I mean, to be honest, in this fight, outside of what we're going to get to shortly, like, Freddy is such a fucking advantage in this fight. Like, he's just whooping Jason's ass almost this entire fucking fight.
Because he's so much faster. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course they can't make it look bad. And no offense, I know it's Robert Englund and all this stuff. I refuse to believe he would be physically stronger than Jason in real life, even having some of his powers. But anywho.
So yeah, they're fighting, and then the cart comes unstuck and hits them both and sends them flying to the final stage. It kind of feels like a video game. Like they're in just different stages of the game, and they're fighting. Here's the final stage. It's on the dock. And this is when Jason gets the upper hand, but then Freddy cuts off his fingers, dropping the machete. So now Freddy's got both the machete and his glove, so he's just hacking the shit out of Jason. But then
Jason's fingers fall off one by one.
Yeah, just like and then he just looks at him like, fuck. Lori and Will decide they're going to set the dock on fire. They're just gassing it up. There's propane tanks behind them, and this is when they try to make Lori look really badass. And to be honest, she kind of does. People really don't like this character. I don't like after this most recent watch. I don't think she was really that bad of a final girl. I just don't think the whole arc of her story was told very well.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, I think Monica Keena, she does a decent job with this character, and I think this final scene, I thought she was pretty badass. I mean, she's definitely not anywhere near most final girls, especially like Nancy Thompson or Laurie Strode or but I enjoyed this whole final showdown.
Yeah, I just, of course I've got some issues with which we'll talk about later, but I mean, it's fun. It's fun. Like it is what it's supposed to be. Like at the end of it, and
yeah. So Jason, Freddy gets distracted, and Jason is able to stick his hand into Freddy and then pull his arm off that's got the claw, and then the whole dock gets blown up because you get the epic slow-mo scene of her running down with the two torches.
Yep.
So yeah, and then they get blown up. They get shot out into they get shot out into the lake.
I love her face when they realize that it's gonna blow up. She's like, "Oh shit!"
Well, that's the thing. So it blows up. Where were they? Because then after they blow up and go into the lake, they're on the dock in front of where the explosion was. So like, where did they go? Oh no, they jumped in the water. That's right. They jumped in the water and then they came out of the water. See, I remembered.
In front of
I don't know. Oh, I guess they were underwater, so it protected them. I don't know. I don't know how fire works.
I just want to point out this whole time, like that Freddy or Jason's fighting Freddy. He's almost constantly vomiting blood from just getting his ass whooped.
Yeah,
he's fine.
So they get back on the dock, and then you see just legs, and you're like, "Who's this?" And to be honest, I think the first time I ever watched this, I thought it was Jason.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But then you find out it's Freddy, and he's missing his arm, but he's got the machete, and he looks like he's gonna kill him. But then his claw shoots through his chest, and that's Jason's final hurrah as he falls back into the lake. And then Freddy falls to his knees, and this is when you get the she picks up the machete. He's like, "Welcome to my world, bitch!" Decapitates him, and then we get the final shot of Jason coming out of a very foggy lake with Freddy's head in his hand, in his fingerless hand, by the way.
It grew back. It's fine.
Yeah.
And you get the little wink from Freddy and his little laugh, and then it's over.
Jason, for those of you, we will be talking about this at some point in the future, but Jason is like Gamera. Like, he gets his ass with bad, usually fucked up beyond recognition, but he just goes and naps it off. Shit grows back, and he's fine. He just needs some time to sleep.
Yeah.
So that is the end of Freddy versus Jason.
Fire at the end right there. They would have easily been burned.
Yeah, probably.
So let's share our final thoughts on this movie before we get to our comments. Angela, start us off. What did you think? What did you think of Freddy versus Jason, since this was your first time seeing this movie?
I still enjoyed it. There was a point where I was like, I know how this is going to end. I called it. I'm like, they're going to both win. Because they were fighting on the dock. I'm like, they're going to both win, right? This is how this is going to end. So I called it. I still enjoyed the movie. Even though I was frustrated with certain things, that the whole water thing. It's like, one was born in fire and one was born in water, and they're
such a dumb line.
They're gonna be scared of it.
It's a dumb plot point.
Yeah, it was dumb.
Just let them duke it out. Give them boxing gloves and let them punch each other.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. What's the game?
Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Yes, Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Just let them do it like that.
It kind of happens. Freddy's head gets knocked off. So I mean,
somebody's head's gonna pop off. But as the little nitpicky stuff, I still enjoyed it.
I will, as much as I have said about this movie, with, of course, we talked about my major grievances with, cherry picking plot points and water stuff, which we've talked about before. You would think, as much as I love this, and essentially Jason just getting his ass beat the last fucking, 15 minutes of this movie, just him constantly getting his ass hammered. But it's fun. I do enjoy this movie. I like watching it. I've got nostalgia for it. And not even that, it's just fun. It's easily better than a lot of the worst entries in the Friday the 13th franchise. And I'm not saying that bad, like, oh fuck, this is better than the worst. No, it's actually a fun movie. Like, I enjoy watching it. I don't mind the characters. You got a couple characters that are shitty. It's just par for the course for these kinds of movies. But I think it's fun. Enjoy watching it. It's a quick romp. If you just want people getting iced off, some titties, and
just take out
new metal from the early 2000s. What now?
Take out Trey and it'd be even better.
Well, that's why he gets killed.
I think it's his name.
It's like certain names. You're just like, yep. Usually that's a shitty character in a movie.
Yeah, Travis. That's the one. Anyway, no offense, Travis is out there. You couldn't pick the name; somebody picked it for you.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's a good romp. I recommend it for fans of both franchises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is watching this. I haven't seen this movie in quite a while. This is, I think, the first time I've seen it probably close to 10 years now, which is pretty crazy. To be honest, the Nightmare series it's been a while since I've seen most of the Nightmare movies. We watched all the Friday the 13th for our ranking episode we did a while back. So I'm a lot more refreshed on that franchise. But this movie is still a lot of fun. Anytime Freddy and Jason are on screen and doing things, it's always great. Yes, the dialogue has not aged well at all. Some of it is atrocious. Some of the characters, it's a typical like early 2000s horror movie where there's just so many unlikable characters where most of the time you're just kind of like rooting for the two baddies to just fucking eliminate them all. I think Laurie redeems herself at the end. I think she's definitely a character I did not like for about 75% of this movie. And then at the end, I was like, why couldn't we get a character like this earlier? Where she redeems herself. I wish we had Mark more. Will was fine. I think he kind of just disappears in the movie, though, towards the end, where I think he was more of a prominent character. A lot of the side characters are just useless. They're kind of just cannon fodder.
What's the other guy we liked?
Mark.
The police officer.
Oh, Stubbs. Yeah, they could have used more of him as well. Yeah, like they kept. I feel like they just made the wrong decisions by keeping some of like the pointless characters in and the more interesting characters out. They eliminate them. Like Stubbs was interesting, Mark was interesting, Will was interesting, and they were really, really focused on Laurie and her group of friends, or like her main group there.
I kind of like. Actually, out of even earlier characters, I actually kind of liked. I mean, I hated it for her because she just went along with it, but I kind of liked Gibbs.
Yeah. Like, she was fine.
Like I felt
just
like
had a shitty boyfriend.
She could have built on that. Obviously, she was issues were. I'm assuming she was down on herself, given that she was in a shitty relationship like that.
Right.
But it is what it is.
But yeah, Robert Englund as Freddy. I mean, I love it. I mean, he's just so good. God, he is this character. He has such iconic lines, and he's just the way that he like the way he just performs as Freddy is just so amazing in it. And it sucks that we'll never get to see that again. But I'm glad we have all those movies to look back on and watch them. I wish we could have got the Kane Hodder Jason. I wish we could have got a different version of Jason. I was not the biggest fan of this Jason. I think he was just too slow, and I think when he does action, like when he is swinging that machete around, it is cool, but I do not like the fact that he is like he is the turtle in the hair. He's just fucking do, and it's just not my type of Jason that I like to watch.
And we've seen him be plenty fast before, even in other New Line movies that Jason movies, and it's just like this is my issue when you bring in people. Like, I know there's writing, but the director has play on shit. And this is when you bring in people that don't know about the franchise. And I get it sometimes. It's a good idea to add freshness, but that wasn't what was done here. So.
Yeah. But it gets me excited to see what we can potentially get. I mean, this movie's 20 years old. This is the last time Robert Englund played Freddy. We did get the Nightmare remake, which I've always been an advocate for. I don't think it's as terrible as most of the internet believes it is, which is fine. You can believe whatever you want. I always was, I don't think it's amazing. It's definitely not one of my favorite remakes. I think the Friday the 13th remake is way better. But I really enjoyed Jackie Earle Haley's performance as this new version of Freddy, and I can't wait to see what they do with Freddy in the future. We know Robert Englund's not going to come back to do it, but I'm excited to see what they do with that character, and I would love to see these two match up again and get a more modern take on this battle.
Yeah, and as somebody like ourselves that are into these long running franchises, like, and we love those characters like Robert Englund, Kane Hodder, stuff like long running characters. You gotta eventually they gotta be replaced.
Yeah,
they can't do the role forever. Like, I know we like them to, but it's not realistic.
Yeah. I won't get too much into like the fact that there's just most fans just are like, Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. I agree, but if you want this character to continue, it needs to change. It needs to be somebody else, because Robert Englund is 72 years old.
Yep.
So, or he might even be older than that. I'm not. He was 55 when he did this movie. He's 76 right now.
Yep.
There you go.
So, like,
he's old.
Yeah, I mean, he's still able to act, and it's great to see him in movies. But like, I mean, we got to move on, people. We got to move on. Yep. We have all these movies. I mean, there was 8 movies with Freddy in it. So, you got all those to look back on. But yeah, I really like the concept of the plot. I like the fact that Freddy needs to regain his power because everybody forgot. I think they could have done more with that.
Also, the fire and water thing.
Yeah, that whole thing was stupid. We just been playing the fiasco for it.
Yeah, the funny thing is like the water bothered Jason, but Freddy didn't seem that bothered by fire outside of when he was in real life.
He got distracted by it, I guess.
But he's like outside of being like a mega damage sponge in reality.
Yeah.
Like he seemed like he's more concerned like, oh, this fire's probably gonna hurt, less than, oh, I'm so scared.
Yeah.
Like Jason was portrayed.
No.
All I could think of is Captain Planet. Sorry.
And he was fine in the water at the end of the movie because Jason flew into the water. He came out and then fell back in.
Continuity just wasn't there. That's okay. No. All right, now that we have given our thoughts on the movie, we are now going to be going to the social medias to talk about the comments that were left. As you know, every week we post what movie we're going to be covering on the show, and we let you guys comment on, your thoughts on whatever movie it is. And we got a lot of interaction with this one as well. The last 2 weeks have been awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. Let's keep this up. Yes, so starting on X/Twitter, our first comment is from our good friend Justin over at Epic Film Guys, who says, it's not the movie that we all hoped for, but it's a fun and silly time with some very questionable dialogue choices. 100%. Yes. Our next one is from @ReelsFeelsPod or ReelsFeels Podcast, who said, absolutely love this film. It's the showdown we all wanted. Well, almost. Kane Hodder should have been Jason, but that's a different hill to die on. This movie has laughs. It's meta. It has blood. Kills are fun. This film is pure popcorn. Yep. Friend and patron of the show, Chris or Rudy5453 says, I can't believe it's been 20 years. This movie. Love the soundtrack. A few memorable moments. I'm sure you will hit on them in the pod. I would love to get just one more Robert Englund Freddy, though. I think we all would, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately. Maybe. I mean, I would say never, but. Our next one is from @EyeballSoup, who said, how can I live without you? That song is the first thing that always comes up when I think of this ride of a movie, or this ride of a film. I enjoyed it for what it was, though. And realizing that the actor Zach Ward, who played Scott Farkas as the older brother, trips me out. At Classiest Witches or Witches Talking Tarot said, love everything about this movie, to be honest, but I'm biased. Jason was my first slasher and Freddy my favorite slasher. From Amber, one of the co-hosts of that podcast. Thank you. Our next one is from friend and patron Jason, or @Nerdtrovert, who said, when we actually get Freddy versus Jason, it's fun. When they aren't throwing down, it's a bit of a slog. Dewey Podmonster just says Jason wins.
Yeah, thank you.
At Batman Rye Guy, who says, honestly, I do really enjoy this movie. Sure, it's not the best, but it's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the important part. Remember, movies are fun, dude. Mm-hmm. That's the idea.
Our next one is @WatchSkipPlus, who says, one of the best sequels for both franchises and the most incredible, iconic, bonkers horror adventure ever committed to celluloid. All hail Shannon and Swift and Ronnie Yu. And Shannon and Swift, the two writers of this movie, actually liked this post. So, nice. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Thank you.
If you ever listen to this, thank you.
Commented on like the shit. Like, what if it was some of that was their idea? Like, damn it.
Hey, if they want to come on the show and talk about the making of this movie, we will happily we'll have them come on. I would love it. It'd be great. Our next one is from @JDoe2983, who said, it had the potential to be terrific, but I found it mediocre. But some people love it, which is great. That's what's so awesome about art. You don't have to love every piece, but every piece will always get love. What a fucking comment. Bravo. I love it. That's how I feel. That's how I feel about most opinions. I just like stirring the pot sometimes. I never like to cause too much drama. I just want to be that guy who stirs the pot.
I'm the guy that stirs it too hard sometimes, where I scrape the bottom of the pot.
You're like, shit. So nice.
Yeah.
Our next one is from @Sheep and Baloney, who said, still my favorite movie of all time, and I will go to my grave saying that. A movie that was absolutely everything I wanted it to be and more.
Nice.
Our next one is from @do_you_nerd, who said, fan service come true. We both really enjoyed this and honestly never thought it actually happened. Would have loved Hodder as Jason, as it seemed more right, but still a great popcorn flick. Now, if we only could get a film, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
By the time that happens, they'll all be in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have 2 actors who pretty much stated they're not going to be playing those characters anymore. So the only one who would probably do it would be Kane Hodder. Next one is from @OddPod Retro, who said just dumb fun. Couldn't agree more.
Yep, good. Yeah.
@Bury Your Bones 23 says, be great to hear your thoughts on this. Well, when you listen to this episode, you're gonna know.
If you made it this far, you'll
yeah. @Dean Barry, who just says 20 years, and it's just a gif of a dude going into a box.
Yes, I see that.
Oh, those are all of our comments on X/Twitter. Thank you, everybody who commented over there. Now we're going to hop over to Instagram. Our first one is from Give Me Back My Horror Movies, who says, just recorded our episode on this. I was shocked by some of the comments made. And I just responded, yeah, the dialogue hasn't aged well. So make sure to check out Give Me Back My Horror Movies. It's a fantastic podcast. I listen to it every week. They cover a lot of movies that don't get enough love. So make sure to go over there and check out their channel and check out their Freddy vs. Jason episode when it drops. Yes. Our next one is from Let's Talk Horror Channel. Just said, I legally can say nothing until my 4-part Friday the 13th franchise specials arrive.
Yeah, there you
understandable. Go. Make sure to follow my brother from the UK, BP from the Let's Talk Horror Channel. He runs a great podcast over there. He has covered some amazing movies, and hopefully one day we can join him over there. It's his breakdowns of some iconic horror movies has been a delight to listen to. And our last one on Instagram is from our good friend Ashley at the Lullaby the Fear podcast. Says, I'm so psyched for this episode, all in caps. Hopefully we don't disappoint you, Ashley.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you to everyone who commented. Make sure, so as I like to say every week, make sure to check out our all of our social medias. We are like on everything. We're on X, Instagram, Threads. We are now on Blue Sky because I got a code for that, so that's a thing just in case Twitter decides to shit the bucket.
You just be invited to that, don't you?
Yeah, I got a code. Don't worry, we got a page over there now. So I post the day before we usually record, or whenever I watch the movie, I'll post what we're watching, and you guys can comment on it. So make sure to follow us and hit the notification bell so you know when we post. And yeah, that's all the comments for the week. Now it's time to talk about what we're going to be covering next week. We're going to be covering Dan's pick for our Spooktober favorites. We're going to be talking about, did we say 1956?
Correct, sir.
The 1956 kaiju film, Rodan. Which is exciting because this will be the oldest movie we have covered on this core show so far. Dan has stated this is our Spooktober favorites, and Dan has stated that this is a horror movie. So
yes, at least the beginning.
I hope Dan, I really hope it doesn't disappoint.
Seconds. That's more than 5 seconds.
Listen, it's a movie about a fucking massive flying dinosaur. Like it's gotta be I'd say it's going to be horror. Yeah.
It's going to be fun. It's fun.
It's going to be a good time. I'm always excited when Dan brings all these movies I've never seen before. He brought me Day of the Dead in his first year on the show. I can't remember what you do last year. I don't remember what you did last year.
I'll have to look. I don't remember what we picked last year. But I'll try to give you different stuff.
All blends in together.
One that picks stuff that nobody's ever seen. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it, but
so you're telling me it's going to be the lowest downloaded episode of the year?
Absolutely, it is. But cool. There's going to be killer squeaky toys in it too. So
hell yeah,
keep that in mind.
So where can people watch that, Dan? Is that on any streaming service right now?
Oh fuck, I don't know.
You're supposed to look.
Listen, I assume it is. There's no Blu-ray release of it in the United States. For anybody ask me, it does not exist.
Okay, probably I'm not going to look for it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, no, sorry. I've been waiting for one forever. See, the problem with Toho.
So currently, for anyone interested in watching it, it is on Max.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It's on Max and it's on Fubo. It's on Plex and it's on Freevee.
Nice.
So thank God for that. So
yeah, well,
that'll be.
Oh, I know. I got a good one for next year too. But anyway,
we're not there yet.
The problem with Toho is they always do the Godzilla movies, but they don't ever do their other offshoot properties, which is some of their best work in it, I think. So.
Yeah, we're excited to hop into that next week, and so make sure you can follow us at Dissect That Film on all those social medias I mentioned before. We are also on Patreon. We have a Patreon where we have 2 tiers. We have $1 tier, which as of right now, I'm a little behind on getting episodes out early, but there are you get episodes early. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a couple days before the release, but I'm a little behind. But we appreciate all your support with that $1 tier. And then we have our $5 tier, which we have exclusive Patreon shows where we have the Monster Zone, which is our kaiju show hosted by Dan and Angela, where we spin a wheel every month and cover 2 movies a month. This month, actually, we don't know because these are October episodes, and as of this recording, we haven't figured out our October episodes. So, but that's what you get for those 2 tiers. So yeah, if you want to support the show and help us, pay for some of the services that we use for the show, or help us raise money to get better equipment for the show, or use better streaming services so that maybe we can get the audio to sound better in episodes, if that's a complaint that no one wants to tell me about. I feel like people are like, God, some of the audio is kind of weird, but no one tells me anything.
I don't want to offend.
We want feedback, people. We want feedback. Also, you can reach out to us. I never plug our email, but if you want to reach out to us with any suggestions on movies you want to see us cover, I can't guarantee when we're going to cover them, but if you have suggestions, I will make a list of movies you suggest. Just email us at dissectthatfilm@gmail.com. You can literally message me on X, Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to call it, at Dissect That Film. You can message me the same thing, suggestions, come say hi, all that stuff. The biggest thing I do want to, sometimes I forget to mention it, but please, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Good Pods, on wherever, on an app where you can rate us, if you can give us 5 stars, please do, because the more 5-star ratings we get, the higher up we get on the list for podcast, and people, we get discovered by more people, and we want more people to listen to our show and hopefully like it. And we appreciate all the support. And if you watch us on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We like reading your comments on the movies that we cover. So yeah, there it is. There's all those beautiful plugs.
Yeah, the more people that check us out, we get more reviews, so we'll have more kooky comments to read on here.
Yes, it's always a great time. And as of this recording, we've hit 20,000 downloads on the show, so that's a pretty awesome accomplishment. So I'm pumped. So thank you everybody who listens to the show, supports the show, listens to the show. Even if you don't listen, but you just share the show on Twitter, we appreciate that. I know everybody can't listen, but just sharing an episode or whatever, it means the world to us. So yeah, make sure to go to your apps and leave those ratings. We appreciate you very much. And all of our links are down in the description. Dan and Angela's links, my links, and all the information for Patreon and all that stuff. And also our good friend Tony from Hack the Movies, I know he's covering this movie as well over at Hack the Movies with, I think, Joe Lascola from Movie Dumpster, who I'm wearing their beautiful shirt right now. They're going to be covering Freddy vs. Jason for Friday the 13th. So if it comes out the same day as ours, then you got 2 amazing episodes you can listen to back to back and listen to some different conversations about Freddy vs. Jason. So
yeah, so I'm assuming you guys already listened to that one and you've come to us second. So we understand
that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
We're not going to judge you for it.
Listen, we got to work to get to that point. They've been around longer. They've done a lot more stuff. We're working up the chain here.
I don't care how many dicks we got to suck. We'll get there.
All right, everybody. Next week it's Rodan. For the future, we'll let you know. But until next time, I am Brett Parker. That is Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming. We are Dissect That Film, and this has been the Dissect That Film podcast, episode 127. We'll see y'all again next time. Bye-bye.